There we go.
There we go. Going on YouTube? Are we live? If everybody can hear me, let me know. Going through some technical difficulties, but can everybody see me? Can everybody hear me? Are we live on your end? Because I am not seeing it on mine. I am not seeing it on mine. There we go. All right, there we go. So we're good to go. I'm going to add in Extra Zero. What's going on? I got him as a guest tonight.
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be here. It's going to be fun stuff to talk. A lot of stuff to talk about.
Yes.
So I'm excited to get into it. Hopefully my voice holds out because I've been on struggle street with it this week.
I know. We were trying to get everybody on, and I know it's like a weeknight, and 7:00 at night is for us, and with everybody going through stuff. So, but hey, Happy New Year, everybody! I know the last time I did a live stream was, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, right? And then I got my Star Convoy video out, or Star Optimus Prime, and working on my next one. So, if I hit my goals tonight, so then I think, did the goal actually come up? No, it did not. Wow, check that out. It did. Trying to get more, more super chats and stuff like that. So if we get some super chats, I'll let everybody in on who I am doing for my next Transformers retrospective. So give me a second here. I'm just dealing with all the technical issues of all the streaming stuff. So let's start that goal up. There we go. And so what's going on, everybody? I see everybody starting popping in on the chat. You got Princeton Phalix. I saw Raz in the chat too. Saw Decade, Matt, and there we go. There's Bert.
Hola, gentlemen.
Hey.
Yeah, you thought I was going to say puto.
Too late.
How's it going?
We are live and chilling out, and going to be talking some Transformers news and the state of the franchise, because everybody has been like kind of uppity because of the like with TF1 not doing well, the Reactivate getting canceled.
A lot of black pills.
What's that?
A lot of black pilling going on in the community.
A lot of black pilling, yeah.
Reactivate
So
got canceled?
Say again?
Yeah.
The game? Reactivate
the game
got canceled? Okay. Okay.
So there's all that kind of stuff happening. People are blackpilling like crazy, thinking that the franchise is just going to go into the tubes. But, I don't know. How was your guys' New Year's?
Kingdom Hearts Bluey is asking.
How does that scale with generation stuff?
Really well.
Yeah.
By generations, you mean like the current legacy universe stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Really, really nice. When we have a moment, I'll go and grab like my Studio Series 86 Prime and put them next to each other. It scales really well because it feels like it's the proper upsize.
Okay.
From like a G1 Prime to a Genrai. The way. Granted, those two were never on screen together, but
exactly.
What you think would be a proper upsize, it looks really, really good.
In my eyes, I mean, I understand the Japanese continuity is what it is, but to me, I want that to be Power Master Prime. I would rather that be Power Master Optimus
See,
Prime.
So you can do that.
Yeah.
You can do that. So there is when it comes to the basic Jinrai figure, not with this one so much. There's another release where he's by himself, where you get him with the red eyes and the American deco.
I'm gonna run to my basement real quick and grab.
To me, though, like even the Japanese deco, I prefer the Japanese deco,
Okay.
but the
in your mind, you just want him to be Power Master Prime,
right? Yeah.
Well, he comes with for the Super Robot. He comes with 3 heads, and one of them is the red-eyed head.
Mm-hmm.
He comes with the blue fist, so you can swap out the fists, and then he comes with a sheet of stickers where you can, like replace this piece here with the yellow details. Okay. You can put the blue windows on them. You can change out the Autobot logo on the trailer and make them look like the Power Master Prime figure.
Okay.
So you get those options.
Nice.
I'm gonna say this. I mean, this figure is absolutely like fantastic, all around fun figure, easy to transform. It's like it's complex, but it's got a fun.
It's masterpiece complex.
It's not super complicated, right? It's once you know it, and it's easy to get through. The only thing I'm gonna give this figure is the smokestacks are absolute garbage.
That's what I've heard. That's what you guys were saying.
Those smokestacks are garbage. Other than that, if besides the smokestacks, fantastic figure all around. I'm kind of like got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping. You know how a lot of times when there's a figure that comes out with like a very obvious and common QC issue like that, the company will go back and go, "Hey, we made this new replacement piece," and send it out to everybody that ordered it. I don't know that Takara's going to go that far, but it would be nice if they did something like that.
Yeah, Takara's never done that as far as I'm aware, but it's funny. I actually have my MPO 1, the American one, and they did come out with replacement smokestacks, and they were really cheap and well made, but with this, you're going to have to knock a pin out to replace them, which sucks. So I have him. He's my Ginrai now, but if you want a Power Master Prime, people are selling off Power Baser.
I don't know why that figure is so good.
And I don't know how well he's shown up, but at TFCon, why it won't focus now? Focus. I got the comic head and hands, really cheap. It was like $15.
Yeah, I think they're like $15 or $20, and you can still get them online.
Yeah, and they actually reissued the head and the hands. I think if you want Power Master Prime, this is the way to go. And while Ginrai is smaller, I will say if you are collecting any of the Master Force stuff that Fans Hobbies put out, he scales. Like he's going to scale with Double Evil. He's going to scale with all the Headmaster Juniors. Whether or not he scales with Dreadwing or Dreadwing is debatable. But between the two, it's really. And again, my camera's like autofocusing for whatever reason, but it's almost negligible. As far as yes, Ginrai is smaller, but he's way more fun to pose. He's way easier to get together. But now this guy gets to be Power Master Prime on my shelf. So
here he is with Cab or Shuta rather.
Mm-hmm. So you can see if the American labels, it's Siren.
Yeah. I call him Shuta because that's the show I watch. But anyway, there he. And
that's what I'm saying. Is like
perfectly,
Specifically, that's Siren, and then you would need the police deco for Go Shooter.
Yeah. I mean, I have all 3 of them, but I have them in the American. I have the American versions.
Right.
So, like my Cab is actually Hosehead.
Right.
And my Siren is Nightbeat. Yeah, Nightbeat. But they scale really, really well. So when it comes to, and those 3 figures from Fans Hobby are a really, really good masterpiece scale.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, it's funny because when you get this figure in just his basic robot mode and you try to compare him to like an MP44, he seems very undersized. But when you get him here and you size him up with the other masterpiece figures, it's like he's right. It's like he should be a little bigger, but not twice as big. So
Interesting.
It's kind of weird to explain, but yeah, he
Yeah.
scales really well. I've been having a lot of fun with this figure.
Okay.
And it's like with the trains too. They got the robot modes right for the trains because they were not that big. But again, the combined mode. But again, if you want the combined mode right or as big as you think it should be, Moon Studios exists. And like I said, for my collection, I like the fact that I have a dedicated Power Master Prime and I have a Ginrai. And like, I think the problem is that so many people that I was born in '85, and I vividly remember in '89 begging my grandfather to get Power Master Prime for me. And for a long time, as I was getting more and more into the Transformers we never got here, it was a hard thing for me to do to separate the difference between Ginrai and Power Master Prime.
It still kind of is. Yeah. It's one of those things where I can watch the show and I understand the difference, but I'm like, it was supposed to be Optimus. It's clearly Optimus. Like, why did they just not make it Optimus? Like, it doesn't make sense. So, I mean, that's kind of how I always looked at it, but that's, it is what it is.
It was something weird where like he wasn't Convoy, but it was Convoy's body that
They're
had
building him a new
somehow
body.
become a transector after his death. Because at the end of the show, the transector kind of becomes Convoy again.
Well, he becomes his own being, God Ginrai.
Yeah, he's not Ginrai anymore. He's almost like he's
his
Convoy
own God
reincarnated.
Ginrai.
Yeah.
Like if
that leads us into Victory, where he then passes off the reins to
Starsaber, right?
Starsaber.
Yep. And then of course he becomes Victory Leo. So,
and he does scale with MP Starsaber too. So that's another element.
I mean, like I have the HasLab, Starsaber, and that's a great figure, but it scales with the generation stuff, and that's what I'm collecting. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm collecting. Like is all generation scale, except for a few exceptions.
That could fit in with MPs,
right? But like for me, I want. If I've committed to a certain scale, like that's where like I'm at, and I'm like, if I start going into Masterpiece scale, and I'll get into it in a little bit. Like there's one figure that's coming out for Masterpiece, and I'm like, if he scales well with Generations, I'll get him. So,
well, I mean, the Beast Wars stuff doesn't scale at all with the G1 stuff. I mean, if you want like proper, and again, it sucks because the Legends stuff really got halted. I mean, they were doing Legends Beast Wars, like proper Legends Beast Wars. Now they're doing very stylized ones, but
but like just to highlight on this, where are we? And I'm trying to actually do this.
There you go. That top one there, that's the Ginrai by himself. That MP60, I think it is.
Yeah. And it's the last Masterpiece.
And it's funny because it says Ginrai, but it's the Power Master Optimus Prime colors.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last Masterpiece?
That's the last
branded one.
Yeah.
Masterpiece is done after
They're
this?
doing MPG moving forward. So the numbering system starts over with MPG, and they're starting like MPG is moving forward. So
what's the interesting? G? So what does MPG mean?
Yeah,
I think it's Masterpiece.
Well, it stands for three things. It's Great, Gatai, and Giant.
Right.
And it's kind of a catch-all. But what's interesting is I have both of them. I got MP60 and MPG 09. And both of them have the T-Spark logo on the box. And if you remember, T-Spark is what they're doing for those Flames Toys collaborations.
Ah, okay.
So it seems like they're just kind of lumping all of their collector brands together because, they've done those like the Brave Commander, Optimus Prime. They did the Leader Class Optimus Primal, but all of those kind of came in those black boxes that import MPs come in. And they did the same for that evasion mode, upscaled evasion mode Prime for Age of Extinction that they released late. I wish they were a little bit more decisive in what they're doing, but I think that they're just they know what collectors are buying and they're trying to get some synergy Like, oh, hey, don't exclude
What
this from your collection.
what better than an Optimus Prime stand-in? With Jinrai. Like that's like a great crossing over. Like they're just doing the cab with the last masterpiece, and then they're doing the whole trailer. And I think that the next MPG after him for 10 is supposed to be God Bomber, right?
It's God Bomber. Yep, I already got him pre-ordered.
Actually, I thought the next two are going to be Lift Ticket and whatever the Diaclone Ironhide's called.
That's funny. That is funny. But where are we?
And then they've got Shattered Glass Prime in the MP44 mold, and they've also got Shattered Glass Jetfire coming out. But I don't.
So they
I
got
don't
a few
know
more.
Yeah,
they're kind of like, I guess they're just kind of milking what they can at this point.
Yeah.
So,
but they did. I'm guessing you're going to get into it. There is another MP scale figure that's coming out. EK2 Guard is what they're calling him. Thanks, PB2.
Okay, so they're going in with that. Did you guys see this thing right here?
Yeah.
What is up with this?
This is a Megatron as a bull, it looks.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Well, I think this is that line where you can combine two figures together, but I don't know if that's a for sure gimmick part of this line.
I mean, because you got like what is this? This is the Voyager scale Tigatron right here. So this is a tiny Megatron.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be for that new Cyberworld toy line.
Yeah.
And did they show the bull mode? Yeah, they show the bull mode. It kind of reminds me of Predaking.
Yeah.
In bull mode.
Yeah, a little bit.
Or specifically, I think it was a ram horn.
That'd be cool if they did these. If they pulled a what was it called? The Dino King, where they did the Dinobots, the Little Legends Dinobots that could combine, but then they went ahead and repainted them and they did a Dino King.
Yeah,
that'd be cool if they did that again, and they gave us like a bunch of like this is Megatron as a bull, and a bunch of other like beast figures like this, and then give us a repaint of Predaking.
You know what the thing though is that the horns more remind me of Unicron. There he is.
Hey guys.
Hey.
What's going on?
Trypticon made it in here.
Actually, I'm trying to turn down my phone.
Check out his background, guys. That is nuts. All those lights you got going on behind you.
I'm gonna get a seizure.
It's so crazy. I used to actually suffer from seizures as a kid.
My wife does. My wife does too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved into this house about 5 years ago. We moved into this house, and when it's a good thing that I work from home because I was at my desk working. My wife was hanging pictures up on the stairwell, and she fell.
Oh God!
And she. I mean, like it was bad. It was really, really bad. It was the way they explained it to us. If she would have hit her, because she hit the back of her head on the edge of a step. And they explained to us if it would have been this much in one direction, she would have been paralyzed. If it would have been that much in the other direction, it would have killed her.
Oh wow!
But now she suffers from seizures. So like lights and stuff like we can't go to, clubs anymore. Not that we're we go to clubs all that much anymore. But anything like that, like for example, Christmas parties. At holiday parties at your work where they got lights and stuff going on, you can't do that.
Yeah,
because it would give her a seizure.
Oh man, that's it's tough. I got mine from the same thing, a head injury playing football. So, but good, great to be here. So
finally got you on again, right? Because last time you were on was for Transformers 1.
Yes,
but
it was.
We were just talking about God Jinrai before, it's like the last masterpiece before they're moving over to MPG. So in Japan, they're doing great with masterpiece stuff, and then Hasbro's putting up this Megatron, next year. I mean, this year apparently, I guess, is like because they're supposed to transition from Earthspark to Cyberworld, and I don't know if it's a new show, new continuity, or something different.
Yeah, if it's like a third series.
Right,
You
right.
know, I haven't got mine yet. I've seen people, that have theirs. I have mine on pre-order. It hasn't come yet. My God, Genrai, the masterpiece. Don't have it yet.
It's weird how it's been shipping out because I got mine from Amazon Japan and I got it. They originally told me I was going to get it on January 11th, and then all of a sudden it was here December 31st. I was like, what the?
Nice.
I know the
I got the
Chinese
same.
got it first.
Yeah.
I know they were getting
What's
theirs pretty
up,
early.
Treebot?
What is?
Oh God! Oh God!
Here we
There
go.
we go.
Eclipse Warlord just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very, very much for that.
Wow. Do I need to take my shirt off?
No, you don't
Don't
gotta
do
go
that.
all the way
No.
up there. So we got some new folks who are now. But I do have something that I can thank everybody with something like this.
Stop! Let go of my dad!
I love this thing.
This scene still makes my knuckles hurt. My whole life, every time I see it, I'm like, ah! My
we
arthritis.
got Treebot finally came back. Now that you have good internet working.
Yeah, and good audio.
Oh, there you go. Finally, about time.
Yeah.
Last time you were literally like a frozen.
Oh, it was
Popsicle.
terrible. It was terrible.
Island Attorney Oregon wants to know why you said no to the shirt off.
We've seen it. We've seen it so many times. Seen it so
You
many
need
times.
to subscribe to Bert
Let's
After Dark.
just. Do we want to get into that?
I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put it. I have another location that I'm setting up a part of my collection, and I'm putting up all of my masterpiece. I have like none of my masterpiece outside of MP1 and MP10 and Ultra Magnus over here, and all of my secrets right here. But I have a ton of masterpiece. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put God Genrai when he comes out, or at least when he comes here.
My masterpiece go on this top shelf here.
That's
So
all.
I'm just getting probably the base robot just because I don't think I have the room
Ooh.
for Super Genrai right now.
You do.
Yes, you do. You need them.
Well,
And
okay.
God Bomber.
Well, yeah, okay. That's the other side of the argument. Because I have the original. The original's up there. There it is.
But MP1.
No,
MP1?
the original Genrai.
The
Oh,
God
Genrai.
Bomber.
Got it.
Or,
See-
God Genrai.
You have room right next to them. You have the old
Yep.
and the new standing side by
Yeah,
side.
I could do that.
Because I don't think most people are going to do a Master Force collection.
The
Yeah, that's
only
true.
I have a fire
God
guts there
Bomber,
actually.
the
I have
only
a-
God Bomber that I don't have displayed in, or God Genrai that I don't have displayed in that God mode is the one from Van's Hobby. Because he's just too big and I don't have a single
He's-
shelf that can hold him.
Really unstable too.
Yeah,
That thing scares
that's
me.
the only one where it's Super Genrai and God Bomber standing together because I can't. I mean, you put that thing, you combine them, and it's like you're holding a baby. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. But
When I took the armor off of him, I swear to God, this guy sighed. He
I
was
love
like
the
a sigh of
comic head.
relief.
I love the comic head on that.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying beforehand. Like the moment I got Genrai and I converted him over to comic Power Master Prime, I was like, okay, yeah, this has been several years waiting. And like I said, if you're like one of those people that's like, oh, he's too small to be Power Master Prime, well, this is Genrai and this is Power Master Prime, and they can coexist as different
there
characters.
you go. I like that. I like
That's how I
that.
got mine here. That's how I have mine set up. I have
Fire Guts.
I got fire guts, and then I have
Oh man,
storm,
Fire Guts.
and then I have it. It's like old and new.
Yeah, that's a G1 Fire Guts. You got that in there,
Yeah, it's a G1.
dude.
G1.
Like I'm not a fan of the Fire Guts thing. Like I don't have a single Fire Guts figure, but I know how badass it is to have that.
Man, listen, I was trying to find that thing for ages, and I was able to finally get to it at one point, and I grabbed it. It was on eBay, like 3 years ago.
Wow.
Good price too. It wasn't a bad price, and I don't think the person knew what it was, and I took it.
Wow.
So the
Nice.
box and all.
Love
So,
those.
speaking of masterpiece, we've got another masterpiece figure
I saw this one.
right
World
here.
of the Night.
Yeah, I made a tweet about that earlier.
What do you
When
guys
I-
think about this masterpiece figure
Oh,
right
this is the
looks
first time
Oh,
I've seen
wow.
the rat mode. When I saw it, I
Mhm.
saw the robot mode, but the rat mode was pixelated.
Yes.
here? Right. Yeah, you couldn't see like the best that you got was this.
Yeah, that's the one I
And
saw.
Yeah,
now,
it
now
looks
we're
great.
getting a little bit something better as
Nice.
far as the image is concerned. And I think he looks great. Like it just,
Yeah.
if he scales with the other generations figures, considering what they're doing with the masterpiece stuff, it would be better than the rat trap that came out that the Kingdom one with the small core class figure.
It's
Yeah.
funny you say that because my Thrilling 31 is my placeholder in my masterpiece shelf.
Yeah, and well, he's meant to be. The Thrilling 31's meant to be a placeholder because they designed. I don't know if it's the clip. There's some
Primal.
kind of clip on Primal
It's
that
a
goes
post.
with that
Mhm.
post goes with Rat Trap, so he can ride on Primal's back.
Yeah, I have the Thrilling 30 figure, and it's okay. But I'm like I want a better Rat Trap figure. It just we have not gotten a good Rat Trap figure
Mhm.
for a
In
while.
decades.
And the
Yeah.
thing is, all of the Beast Wars masterpiece figures have all been on point. I don't think there's been a bad release yet. I don't own them all, but I've handled all of them at one point or another. I do have Primal and Cheetor right now, but I do plan on getting Rat Trap. He looks great.
Interesting.
Side story, Rat Trap side story. I got the original Transmetal Rat Trap, and when I got him brand new in the box, so I got to open him. It was new old stock. Remember when BBTS found apparently they found a warehouse full of old vintage Japanese.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
I remember that.
I bought a bunch of them up, and so I got a brand new Rat Trap in the box, opened them up, all of that, had them on display for years. When we moved to this house 5 years ago, I put him in a little Ziploc bag, and I put him in the bin with all of my other Beast Wars figures. I pulled them out about 3 months ago, and it's just a Ziploc bag full of red flakes.
It's chipping. Yeah, my
Just
original Rat Trap
fell
is
off
chipping.
of them, man.
My
was
my
so
10th
heartbroken.
anniversary Rat Trap is still good though.
So when I moved, people warned me about putting stuff in Ziploc bags because I think what it is a chemical reaction that happens between some of the materials in the Ziploc bags and certain types of plastic and the way certain plastics are coated. Like one of the ones you really need to be careful about is the Ghostbusters crossover Prime. If you leave Slimer on the Ectotrap roller, he'll fuse to it. He'll
You got that
actually melt.
same issue with your Jetstorm.
Yeah, I've never even transformed this thing.
Ooh.
Never transformed them, and it's all in here.
So, Rodimus,
Yeah.
you might recall that I have the BotCon Cyclonus of that Jetstorm, right?
Yes, you do.
That has not left the box again since I reviewed it for that reason. I am not risking the vac metal coming off of that thing.
Wow. And I have who is it? Like I have some of the other Transmetal figures, and the vac metal is fine, but Jetstorm and Rat Trap, just in particular, are the two that the paint just started to chip after time.
Man, I've
Cyclops
literally
Kid one held
never
together pretty
transformed.
well. It's just the right or the left wheel has gotten it a little bit, but the other one's okay. The rest of it's okay. It's just this wheel right here just has scratched
I was
off
so
a bit.
sad because I've seen so many pictures of them all flaked off, and mine was new. And then I moved here, put them away, and when I pull them out, it's just a Ziploc full of flakes, man.
Wow.
Should be a class action lawsuit against Hasbro.
Against a 30-year-old toy.
I just want them to bring back the Transmetal molds so bad as
I want a
releases.
Transmetal
Transart.
Vac metal.
So many I want to come back.
Dude,
I
just
want to
start buying
reissue
Transart.
Transmetal's Megatron. That's it. That's all I have.
They brought out the TM2, right? They brought out. I got the TM2 over here. The TM2 Megatron. They brought him out in the Legacy line, right?
Yeah.
A couple of years back. Yeah.
But like I saw, like with that Rat Trap figure, I'm just like, you know what? Now would be the time to actually get that masterpiece figure. I'm like, if he scales with the other generations figures, I'll go for it. I know it'll cost like, because I think it said like it was like the equivalent of $90 or something like that.
Unless you get through Amazon
Yeah, that
Japan,
sounds about right.
He'll probably
I
be
wonder
like
what they're gonna give.
79.
Because they always give him those weird accessories, like
Mhm.
from an episode. I wonder what they'll give him.
I don't
They could give
know.
him a number of things.
I don't know. But I tell you what, I am excited for, and I will be willing to spend the money on is
Yes.
this bad
Yes.
boy right here.
I am absolutely jumping on because I don't
Oh
have.
yeah.
I skipped on the first one, so
Yep.
I am absolutely getting this one.
Same
So-
here. I skipped on the first one. I
I
like
bought the first
the
one.
original purple better than the lilac that they're using here. That it's kind of
No, they're going for a cartoon look.
Yeah, it's more of an ACOM purple.
Yeah, the one on the left looks like the old toy. The one on the right looks like the cartoon. That's what they're
Mhm.
going for.
And they're getting
I'm-
rid of the transparent on the chest.
Yeah, the translucent chest is gone. That's the one reason I'm getting it. I'm giving my old one to my kid cousin. He's like 5, loves the thing every time he comes over here. I'm giving that to him. I'm getting this one just because of all the improvements. And they're apparently going to fix the hips. The hips on mine
They already
didn't
fixed the hips.
give out, but I know a lot of other people have that problem.
Yeah,
they
a lot of
did
people had to
fix
take the
hips
springs and
in
clip
the
them.
second, I think
They did?
They did. The first run of them had bad hips, and then the second run had better hips.
Yeah.
So-
Mine's got
Mine
bad
must have
hips.
The one I
been the
have-
second run then.
I got the one from I think it was the Transformers Legends one. That's the one I have. It's from Japan, like the Tarka version of this.
Takara, the Takara one definitely fixed the hips for sure.
Yeah, I know mine's that I had a problem with it at all. I have the original one here too.
But I missed out on them.
No foil stickers.
Yeah. See,
No
I
foil
love
stickers.
I
thank
love
God.
that they're doing this stuff though, because it scratches the itch for people that missed out. It saves them from scalpers. It also is like, if you already have the original and you're happy with it, you don't have to buy this.
Exactly. Yeah,
You know?
this isn't ruining
That
your
was-
figure.
I made a whole video about that and people came at me sideways about it, and I'm like, this is the entire point. I think everyone misses the point to re-releases. That was the point of the final run of the Legacy too. Is those were all for people that either didn't get them or they
Mhm.
had a better color scheme, and people really missed the point of that.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the new boxes now? They're not going to do the plain brown boxes. Now they're going to have art on them. I kind of hate it.
It's winded up in recycling for me. So
I kind of hate it
already
because
ended up in a
it makes
recycling.
it difficult to throw away. I want to throw the boxes away. I don't have room. I need to get rid of the boxes, and then they make these beautiful artwork boxes. And you're like, ah.
There will be a couple I'll keep. Definitely, probably going to keep the Fallens. I might just run and just keep the 13 primes, and that might be it. But definitely going to keep the Fallens one for sure.
I keep all my boxes there during storage. I have like these big totes. Just pop them in there just in case someone want to sell.
These boxes, the Masters of the Universe Origins boxes, like the Eternia box, the HasLab Ghostbuster stuff. I got that Proton Pack box, and now the two in the box that just came out, the Trap and the PKE. I've got all these like artwork boxes in the attic that I really don't have room for, but I don't dare throw away.
see, I just keep my HasLab and my masterpiece stuff.
I kept my HasLab. I kept a couple of my masterpieces because most of them are all Hasbro except for my MP44. But everything else is the Hasbro stuff. So I kept a couple of those boxes, and then I have my Deathsaurus, and then I have like all of my Japanese boxes. I kept those because they just look so cool, and most of those are Unicron trilogy. But
I also love that they painted the rims on full tilt as well.
oh yeah,
I'm excited for it because like Bert said, I missed out on the first time, so it gives me an opportunity to be able to actually get the figure that I missed out on. And now we only need a Metroplex, and then I'll pretty much have all the Titans that I want. You know,
I think it was
They
scarce too. Like the Trypticon was a scarce figure, right? They didn't have a lot of those available.
He was
A
easy to
lot
find.
of people were finding them at
He was-
Ross and
Yeah.
Ollie's.
Toys
wanna
R Us
get-
is where I got mine.
I do want to get into like the whole distribution issue because Hasbro's the whole
It's
thing
terrible. Yeah.
with stuff going on with them because I mean, we're looking at some of these figures that are coming out, and like you see something like
Oh, no,
this, and it's just like this is awesome, right? Like finally a G2, Grimlock, and it's got the storybook wheelie. So people who missed
I
out
love
on
that.
Grimlock can at least get them. They're still going to do the Studio Series 86 Grimlock, and then they're doing the crossover with the with the Naruto
Yep.
figure, which is kind of cool.
Right.
But like some of this is like, okay, it's neat, it's kind of awesome, but when you're thinking about it, like what we're seeing right now is Hasbro is having a lot of issues with distribution, with getting the figures out that people want. You have ordering that people are having a problem with, and then you hear like that Hasbro wants to switch everything over to games, and then something like this happens where it's Splash Damage just put out a notification that Transformers Reactivate is canceled. Today we have some difficult news to share. The decision has been made to end development of Transformers Reactivate. This means that we'll be scaling down to refocus our efforts on other projects. Unfortunately, despite every effort, a number of roles across the studio are now potentially at risk of redundancy. The decision did not come lightly, and it's a difficult time for the studio and our people. We want to take a moment to thank the team who worked on Transformers for their dedication and passion. Hasbro is an incredible and supportive partner throughout, and we hope to work with them again. To many fans, your excitement and support helped keep us going. While not being able to see the game through to release is painful, having to say goodbye to friends and colleagues hurts even more. We're now more focused on doing everything we can to support them through this tough period, just as we're committed to caring for those who will stay with us as we build a stronger Splash Damage for the future. Thank you for your compassion and understanding. Now, this makes me wonder if it's a studio issue, a studio problem, or if it's Hasbro pulled the plug on them.
I don't think it's a
that means
Hasbro
this
problem.
guy just tripled
I
in
don't
price,
think
right?
I don't think this one's on Hasbro because
So-
I want to blame Splash Damage 100% for this, just because for the news I've followed of the game, and from the old build we've seen, they announced the game when they announced the game at the Game Awards. It had already been rebuilt twice, I believe, and once they had officially announced it, they begun work on it, and they said it was going well, and then Unreal Engine switched engines.
Yeah.
So then they had to migrate everything over to that, and by the time I guess they had gotten started doing that, they're like, you know what, this isn't even worth it anymore.
Yeah. I think that probably it was a budgetary thing primarily,
That too.
because again, like they've been working on this game for I think 4 years. The reveal happened 2 years ago. They rebranded it to Rise. I think Hasbro had expectations that the game was going to be out within the year or next year. I mean, because otherwise, I mean, they were. If you look at the date on the packaging for the Rise merchandise, because it has Rise and Reactivate on it on the 2 packs. And then just the way it was all packaged, it's like, I think because the packaging predates the plastic free packaging designs. So I think they probably had upset investors with the schedule. They probably burned through the budget that they had. And a lot of that probably came from the fact that there were changes in the decision making. I think moving to Unreal Engine 5 was unwise because, as a big gamer myself, I'm on a gaming podcast, Gronking on Dogs, with Lethal Lightning. We do deep dives into this stuff. There's a budgetary problem with games right now, and it's not hard to see. Unreal Engine 5 not only probably was costly for the license switch because they had to pay a license for UE5. They had to redo everything. They had probably to redo a lot of assets. Also, when you switch over to UE5, you're eliminating some scalability. Switch out of the picture.
Yep.
PlayStation 4, Xbox One out of the picture. And those 3 platforms have strong user bases despite PC and PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. So the scalability was decreased. Not only that, but it set development time back. I think the other major factor is it being a live service game. And in the past few years, we've had several live service games that were prolific fail, starting with Anthem, which had the BioWare pedigree, failed massively. Avengers had every reason in the world to be successful, but people just didn't want another live service game. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Now that has a litany of issues. We're not going to get into those, but first and foremost, it's the live service element. Concord is another one, hero shooter, but we have a crowded market of live service games, and Hasbro's probably looking at like, well, if people want Transformers in a game, Fortnite's the most popular live service game, and we can just shoehorn them in there. They're probably looking at the failure of these live service games, and live service games really have the first 3 months to get their audience. Otherwise, they are massive monetary failures because they're anticipating making their money through the players buying cosmetics, buying battle passes.
The only major live service I think that's going well right now that is new, like that's not entirely like that hasn't been carried over, would be probably Marvel Rivals, and which still a little early to tell on that, and Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 has been doing very well.
Well, you also have Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Whether you like Overwatch or not, Apex is doing well. The Finals is doing well.
Finals is wonderful.
Deathlock, which is not even really out yet. It's still in early access, but that's a free to play. And the other thing, too, is the best performing live service games are all free to play. Another one that failed was Destiny. Like, Destiny's been diminishing returns. And, the Lightfall did okay, but the final shape was a complete disaster. So they're probably looking at like, okay, we're seeing a trend where live service games are becoming big failures for studios, even with established properties. Not only that, but I think, and I hate to say it because I love Transformers 1, but I think they're looking at the diminishing returns, and they're probably like, and again, going back to the distribution problems, they're probably looking at like, is Transformers a brand we can really lean on with this big of a project? They're probably cutting their losses and making this a tax write-off.
Yeah, that's probably what you're right. Definitely a tax write-off.
I can't stand that they look. If they did look at it that way, that drives me nuts. Just because of the fact that we've had in the past 20 years, we've had such a variety of Transformers games that have been honestly considered cult favorites for a lot of casuals and fans. Because you will go from Transformers the game to the other 2 movie games that did really well.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to the Fall of Cybertron, War for Cybertron games. They did excellent. And then Forged to Fight.
It's a mobile game. But
a mobile game. But then they just completely forgot about those and started producing shovelware with the Evergreen stuff.
Well, I think Earth Wars did okay.
Earth Wars did good. Earth Wars is a good game. It's just...
It was one of that was based on...
Still getting support,
what was that G1 one that did really good?
Devastation.
Devastation. Yeah.
Transformers Devastation was such a great game, and it was like it was just a real fun game to play. And you had like the original voice cast came back, or the ones that they could get.
Yep.
And had a fun storyline, even if it was like
platinum behind it,
only canon to itself, right? Took elements from G1, took elements from IDW, took elements from here and there, but it was just still a fun game overall. And
very good game. Yeah.
I never did finish Devastation. I need to go back to that game.
Finish it.
You want to know what I'm thinking? The problem is, it's great, man. I mean, you want to know what I think the problem is with Transformers overall. But let's talk about the games. I think we can all agree that the Fall of Cybertron, War for Cybertron line was probably the top, if not next to the top, right? If you look like something that's like Call of Duty Black Ops, I think they're at the Black Ops 6 or something now, right? They kept that same line going, right? I think it will make a lot of sense if they just went to War from Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, and just kept making games down that line.
I think that's what they're going to do.
He had one more after that, if you didn't know, called
Dark
I do
remember that third one.
Yeah, Dark Spark was gameplay wise is a solid game. It just told such a poor story and took one of the best modes out of the game to compensate to merge it in with Age of Extinction and all that going on at the time, that it kind of failed just because of that. And it's unfortunate because that type of gameplay, especially where we are now with how third person shooters are starting to get popular
Mhm.
again with Fortnite, Helldivers, Battlefronts. I mean, Battlefront's supposed to come back at some point. I'm not sure when, but
Well, Battlefront
all
2's
those
been
third
around
person,
and it's actually had a
yeah,
bit of a resurgence because
yeah.
the Battlefront collection that Aspire brought out was so broken that people actually went back, myself included, went back to Battlefront 2 and discovered that all the changes EA made, they actually made it a good
Oh
game.
yeah, it was a very good game once they stopped the
Yeah.
microtransaction crutch. But
I,
yeah, that era, that third person shooter team deathmatch type of Transformers game works very well with what Transformers has. I mean, the transformation element brings something fresh to it. The stealth force type fighting in vehicle mode works really well. You can definitely work that into a type of gameplay. Like it just there's so much to offer from a Transformers shooter that I don't think they're
well,
capitalizing on.
I
That's
don't know
what
if you guys have
I
seen,
agree completely.
they relisted all the Activision games on
Yeah,
Steam and on
Yeah.
the Xbox store. Now you can't buy them yet in America, but they relisted in was it like I think it was one of the European countries. It might have been
yep,
Spain, but they relisted prematurely. I think Microsoft is like, look, we now own Activision. They made these games that have big cult followings. Let's do HD re-releases because it's not going to take much work. We'll put them
Yep.
on Games Pass and see how many people are playing them. And I think that I'm hopeful and I want to be optimistic. And I'm wondering if they're going to scrap this and fund that third and final War for Cybertron trilogy game. And I think if you look at the success of Space Marine 2, which is really like the Fallen War for Cybertron games are really just cover based shooters with vehicles. I mean, even though you don't take cover like Gears of War, but it's the same like design. And you get a game like Space Marine 2, a sequel that like it was a cult game. You know, there's a lot of Warhammer fans, and Warhammer's like had a huge resurgence through the video games. And you see, you know, what Space Marine 2, a sequel that comes out 13 years later after a game ended on a massive cliffhanger. How many years ago was Fall of Cybertron at
The
this
thing
point?
is,
But
though, is that
it's
it's
been
the aligned
almost
continuity is already pretty much like over, and
well,
the
I
games
don't
were
think they care
supposed
about
to
it.
be
yeah,
aligned
yeah.
continuity. So whether or not they'll return to that continuity is what is completely up to them.
I
I
don't
mean,
think they care about continuities anymore.
I don't
I
know that they're
agree.
worried too much about the aligned continuity when it comes to the games because if you look at how the games go, it's very loose.
It
There
is.
are events that are stated in Prime that happen in the games, but outside of that,
well, that
not
was
much else.
because the people who made Transformers Prime went out of their way to say, "Oh, we're supposed to make it canon. Oh, we'll just do it our own way," and they legitimately threw wrenches into it. The people who made Transformers Prime angered the people of angered Hasbro because they were trying to make this like whole universe connect and everything like that, and the people who were making Transformers Prime were over budget, and they went out of their way to like, oh, we're supposed to make the Nemesis supposed to be Trypticon. Well, then
It'll
we'll
talk.
not make them Trypticon.
It'll talk for an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
Like,
all that
I'll
kind of
look
stuff
at that
there.
one.
All the back end stuff with the aligned continuity is kind of a mess,
I'm gonna go play
and
You
but
know
then
what?
again,
Who's Jeff? I'm gonna go play with the machine. I have a Christmas toy. I'm gonna play with it.
what's going on over there?
Carmen,
I'm being talked at.
Uh-oh. Bird's in trouble.
You're not being talked at. Yes, you poor sad man.
Bird's in
Everyone-
You
trouble.
want to come in? You want to get
I
on the
have
camera?
rollers in my
What-
hand.
okay.
Folks. Come on. Bye, guys.
But
Yeah, that's how-
bye.
So hey, does that mean this guy's now tripled in value?
That's okay. So now I'm gonna probably go scalp the bumblebees that are shelf warming at my because that we were talking about because I bought it for my friend because he's a big gamer and he just got into Transformers again through Skybound, and that I find out is also kind of boosting the franchise big time because of how well Image is selling their Transformers. It's one of the most one of their most profitable series right now with Void Rivals and GI Joe. But anyway, he got into Transformers through Skybound, so I bought him a figure for Christmas, and he was like, "This is reactivated," and he was like, "Yeah, I figured I'd buy it for you since." It's probably going to go up in value because I think this game's doomed. I think everyone else thinks the game's doomed.
I'm
But
glad I picked up that Bumblebee. Like I had no interest in the Bumblebee Starscream 2-pack, and then later I saw the Bumblebee on his own, and I picked him up, and I was like, I got $20 in my pocket. Let me grab him, and I was impressed by that figure. I actually really really liked it.
it does
Aren't
the
they
whole
doing?
hound thing.
Aren't they doing Soundwave still as a solo deluxe for Studio Series?
Yes, I think so.
Oh yeah, that's right. Was it? Is he talking about for 86 or?
No,
I'm
for the
talking about
yeah.
The
Yeah,
reactivate one.
Reactivate.
They can just call him concept art, concept Soundwave at this point.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably for the best. But someone mentioned 86B. The reason he's shelf warming so much is he's intended to.
Yeah,
They're supposed to have made so
yeah.
many of that
They're
figure.
calling those A-lister releases now.
this guy too.
Just so he doesn't get scalped. Yeah, it's just a measure for him to not be scalped and have your main characters accessible on the shelf if you want to grab a Transformer.
Yeah, he's meant to last beyond
exactly.
rate. People are wondering why he's on the shelf. Is because people who want a Bumblebee can now get a Bumblebee.
Yeah.
They've done this in past lines. They did it in the movie line quite a bit.
They should have done it with Ultra Magnus.
Yeah.
They need to reissue that figure because I still haven't found it, and I'm not paying $300.
You've seen those scalp prices. It's ridiculous.
That figure's going for like $300 to $400. It's ridiculous. Why
Really?
don't
I want you guys to stay on this point because there's something I want to bring up real quick. First and foremost, you've got this thing going on with you've got Earthspark on the toy shelf with a lot of this stuff, and it's like, okay, you got two of the same packaging for the same figure, basically, for Earthspark, and it's not selling. Like Earthspark,
these went on clearance at all three of my targets.
Right.
Yeah,
so like
the only
$8.
The only things in Earthspark that are selling are the deluxes. That's it.
And then, I just thinking about this, like as a whole, Transformers 1 didn't do so hot. You got Earthspark that didn't do so well. People really didn't watch it. The toys are sitting on the shelves quite a bit. Distribution is a problem. You can't get something like that you really want, like Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus, or in my case, Studio Series 86 Prime. Then you look at their stock prices. And I don't want a black pill, but I mean, Hasbro is doing a lot of moves that is hurting them.
Yeah.
Overall. Now we're looking at it from the Transformers perspective. And if you only look at it from a Transformers perspective, you go, okay, well, in this area, Transformers, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a Hasbro thing as a whole. Yeah. And they're making moves like the things that they've done with Dungeons and Dragons has hurt them quite a bit, hurt their name with Wizards of the Coast. Things that they've done with some of their other brands has hurt them. The fact that they buried Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Dude, they could have done a Transformers Power Rangers crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're naming all these lines, and one of the things that I've always said on my show is that I feel like they're competing with themselves. Yep. It's like how many people that collect G.I. Joe also collect Transformers. I was collecting Lightning Collection, and when these waves would hit, it would be like, here's 5 new G.I. Joes, here's 5 new Lightning Collection figures, here's 5 new Transformers. Well, actually, you'd get 4 to 5 deluxes, 2 Voyagers, 2 Leaders, a Commander, all at the same time. And the problem is they're operating on FOMO. They need to like read the room. So like, look, the economy is rough for a lot of people, and these are luxury items. And a lot of people, are going to be like, well, you know what? If I can't get the figures I want, I'm just going to take a back seat. I'm not going to prioritize collecting. I never took a break from collecting. Like I know a lot of people are like, yeah, I became a teenager, I became interested in girls, and I stopped. For me, I was like, I never stopped.
I never did either, especially consider like
Yeah.
Bert and Rodimus know I've been playing basketball for 12 years straight, and somehow I still found a time to. I mean, didn't go to conventions at the time. That was still a problem, but collecting never really stopped. I just grabbed a little something here and there from Combiner Wars or skipped out on Power of the Primes. But Siege I did okay.
Five of us, though, think about something. The five of us make up a demographic of people that are collecting Transformers.
Small.
It's about 25% of the market. And what they don't realize is that because we have become that big, not just because we've continued to collect, but because the kids are not latching on to a lot of these new action figures, a lot of these new toys. They're not connecting with them the same way. You don't have the same, cartoons that are coming out that people are
There's
latching
no
on to,
synergy.
whether it's a Transformers cartoon
Kids
or
don't play
G.I.
with
Joe
toys like
cartoon.
we did.
What's that?
Kids just don't play with toys the way we did. That's just not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Little
I think
kids
it's more than that.
play
I
with
think it's more-
toys, but by the time they're 9 or 10, they're already moving away from toys and getting into electronics.
Right.
I think it's more than that too. They don't have any kind of characters that they can really connect with, right? I mean, right? I like Transformers.
Unless they're younger. Look, for example, I mean, you just saw my 6-year-old in here. Look at Bluey. I can't tell you how many Bluey toys there's all over this house.
Yeah.
Before that, it was the dog, the puppies,
Paw Patrol.
Puppies.
Paw
Patrol.
Yeah.
Younger kids have stuff like that, but for older kids, getting in grade school age kids, like we had Transformers, we had He-Man, we had Thundercats, we had all this. We don't have that for that age demographic anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
because
and-
also how the cartoons are delivered.
Yeah,
So
streaming
people,
service killed that. I feel like too.
not
Not having it on network TV except for reruns of G1 and Prime for the past 6 years has been a problem. Besides streaming services,
right?
Because Machinima had the Prime War on Netflix, right?
Mhm.
And then
Netflix had
the trilogy on Netflix.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have a 2-year-old granddaughter in here. She runs around. You may see her in a minute. She loves Transformers. Obviously, why? She's walking around the house where there's line in the walls, right? I would doubt if she would love Transformers without this, because I agree with Bert. The cartoons, I mean, well, everybody here, the actual delivery of the cartoons has completely changed. I mean, we used to all go home, Transformers would come on at 4
Run
o'clock
home
my
from
time.
school.
Yeah, run home from school.
Yeah.
And everybody will watch it. And if you was able to get on the phone, you would call and say, yo, man, did you see Optimus Prime knock out Megatron or whatever else, right? Or come into class the next day and talk about it, or bring in your toys. Now, I don't even know kids even know where to find these cartoons at anymore, right?
Not only that.
For me, it was like in 08, 09, we were watching animated. That was our cartoon. And
we had Cartoon
watched
Network
on Saturday morning. Yeah, on Cartoon Network. And we watched on Saturday mornings and then talk about it the next Monday, And then
exactly.
It made an event out of it.
Prime, then come Prime, we had it on the hub, and we watched Prime on the hub. But after that, we really didn't have anything.
To the distribution problem too. It's just like with Transformers 1, we got, the line that came out was like Orion and Bumblebee out the wazoo. And then you had the cheaper toys. You had characters that weren't even in the movie. And for the Ford, you got a Quintesson, you got Sentinel Prime, who's all but dried up everywhere. Bumblebee.
I've seen him once.
Yeah. You got Orion. You never got a D16 in the main line. And now anytime I get to a store, it's just Quintessons and Bumblebees. And for studio series, they're not even coming out. Like the movie's already out.
We don't get the other rest of the main characters until May.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Why are we getting like mainline? We got the Luxus, Why are we getting mainline Voyagers and Leaders like we've gotten for every other movie?
Right.
Why is this not on shelves in the U.S.?
Right.
This is the Leader class figure for TF1. This is an amazing toy. Why
Kids would
don't
love
we
it.
have this on shelves?
Yeah. It has that line, like that Brave Commander has that line of, meeting in the middle between what, kids would like and what's cool for collectors,
Yeah.
But like when we were kids, if a figure came out like super late, we kind of like scoff at it. Like, why is this coming out so late?
Yeah.
And
And you know something, I think the other problem is that fact that they try to get you have the Transformers 1 toy line and then you have Studio Series.
Yeah.
And they're both coming out around the same time. So you see a Sentinel Prime for Studio Series, and you see a Transformers 1 Sentinel Prime. And it's
You're like, who's who?
packs.
Yeah.
You see the same thing with Bumblebee or B127, however you want to do it. And so much of those toys come out, and they keep coming out, and you're like, I'm only going to buy one.
My
You know what I
Walmart
mean?
across the
that
street
was the
has the Studio Series and the main line Optimus Prime. These two. Can you tell I'm getting ready to review this guy? Because I got these guys here for comparisons. My Walmart across the street here has these two guys on the shelf next to each other. And if you don't know any better, if you're just, grandma buying something for their kid, you don't know the difference. It just looks like the same toy in two different boxes.
Yep.
And that
It's
was
confusing.
the problem with this when this came out. Because, for one, Hasbro saturated the line so much with their size classes and Studio Series that they had to push this off into being exclusive. So we didn't get this for how long?
Yep.
And then we've got a Voyager on the shelf at the same time.
But only
So-
in Walmart.
Yeah, only in Walmart. So we were just like, for those who I'm lucky. I have like 9 Walmarts in my a 45-mile radius.
That's not
So-
lucky.
Now, here's the thing: we're all touching on about distribution. So the distribution is terrible of all these figures. That's a given. But you have like 25 different Optimus Primes. I understand they want enough people to get an Optimus Prime. It's kind of like the He-Man problem of the 2000X He-Man cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
You had 25 different versions of a repaint of He-Man and Skeletor, and you could never get your hands on a Man-at-Arms. You could never get your hands on a Tila or an Orko or a Merman or a Triclops or
Trapjaw.
whomever.
That's what killed it for me.
Because you just had He-Man and Skeletor clogging the shelves, and they were all repainted weird, oddball, like Batman 90s colors.
Kenner Batman stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say Batman. Batman has, I still to this day, is the one character that has the most toys out of any other character that you can think of, just because of how many repaints they'll do of the same Batman figure.
But some people were okay
I don't know,
with that
Bert.
back in the 90s. The 90s was different. But
Yeah.
but by the time the 2000s came along, nobody really wanted that anymore, and so it made it much more difficult for toy distribution. The other issue is now the comic books are doing well, right? So like you have the comic book of Transformers Skybound is doing very, very well. It's outbeating some of the Spider-Man and Batman comics, which goes to show you how much people really want good Transformers stories. But the comic book audience today is not the comic book audience of the 80s.
I was going to say that too.
And so you're not going to be able to sell as many toys or anything just based on a comic book, no matter how good that comic book sells. So you need a medium that gets out there. Well, what happens when Transformers 1 has piss poor marketing and doesn't get out there and has 5 people like us sit there giving the movie its praises that it's due, but at the same time everybody saw that first trailer and said, I don't care, I'm not seeing it. And
How much did they
pay
How much they blow to put that
to
trailer in
take a family
space?
of 4 to go see a movie and then pay another $50 on refreshments when I can wait for that movie to come home in 3 weeks,
Right.
and I can go see it for $25 and I can use my own snacks that I have at home.
Well,
It would have
even
probably
less.
changed if they had brought that second trailer out
Yes.
first.
Well, yeah,
been
that's
a lot
for
bigger
sure.
deal.
But even so, there was definitely the general audience had a fatigue for Transformers, and as a whole. Not, from the live action movies, because Rise of the Beasts has struggled to make a profit, I think, to
And
my
it wasn't
understanding.
marketed that well either.
Right.
It was
And
not. It was better, but not well.
right. I mean, Bumblebee was, made a profit, but it took a while before it made a profit because it came out in a winter season, which is kind of the thing. But even so, so you have all these years of Transformers movies that came out, and people are just not lining up. Why? Because they're tired of the bad storytelling. They're tired of the same thing over and over again. They're like, we want something new. We want something new. It's kind of the same thing with Star Wars. People don't want to go see Star Wars because once you tell a bad story and people are noped out for a while, it's going to affect every movie thereafter. And everybody looks at The Last Night and everybody went to go see it and say, oh, well, everybody went to see it. And they went, okay, I'm not going to go watch another Transformers movie after that one. I don't care how good they get. And that's what the general audience did. And the same thing for the cartoons. You see Robots in Disguise 2015. You see Cyberverse. You see all these cartoons. Whether or not they're good, it doesn't latch the audience the same way anymore. And not to mention, the cartoons keep rebooting.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Constant reboots, starting with really the Unicron trilogy. We can go as far back as the Unicron trilogy. It's just constant reboot after reboot after reboot after reboot.
Three shows there that were Cybertron was loosely tied, but you could technically make an argument that it restarted there.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the Unicron trilogy ends, and then it's animated. Prime. And now Prime's sequel series is Robots in Disguise 2015. And you had the Rescue Bots and all that. But then you had Cyberverse, and now Earthspark. Earthspark just isn't hitting the same bases that people want for a lot of different reasons. You can talk about all the different reasons, but it's just not captivating the kids the same way. And not only that, we're now getting older, and we're still Transformers fans, and we're still collecting. But if they continue to continuity going forward, like if they started maybe 10 years ago, continuing on from where G1 left off, with our kids would be so excited to see Transformers that they would be the next generation to take on Transformers and love it and keep it going.
That's why
by resetting over and over and over and over again, all of us are going, okay, all right, we'll enjoy the next Transformers cartoon, we'll enjoy the next toy line or whatever. But then what happens is that you get too many people that go, oh, it's another reboot again? Well, I'm not going to watch.
Yeah, that's why I wanted Transformers 1 to be successful, because that was absolutely perfect restart. If that was successful, I could see that taking the entire franchise forward.
Sequel to it.
They could have used the assets and put a cartoon out on Paramount like they're doing with Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I think Paramount's a problem, because what you're saying about the cost of going and see a movie in the theater. So my wife and I saw Sonic 3. We loved it. And I heard yesterday or the day before.
Excellent. Was it good?
It's a lot of fun.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. It was, on one hand, I took my 6-year-old during the Christmas break to see it because nobody else in the house wanted to see it. So we made a daddy-daughter date out of it. On one hand, it's kind of like when it as far as my wife is concerned, it's more of the same. So she's okay not watching it. Right. But in terms of taking my 6-year-old to see it, it was a great movie. It was a lot of fun. It is kind of more of the same, but it was fun for her to watch. And they do the old Bugs Bunny trick where they sprinkle in some jokes. They know the parents are stuck in the theater watching this movie, so they sprinkle in some stuff that the parents go, ah, and the kid's not laughing. Right. So
the jokes that like DreamWorks did that with Shrek.
Yeah.
But I think
One
the Paramount.
funny thing I saw. Or you go ahead, Hector.
I was gonna say just the Paramount problem is that even with Transformers 1, they were real quick to get that on digital, and when it goes on digital, it's also on Paramount Plus. So if you spend like the $6 or $8 or even get the free trial, you can see the movie at home for next to nothing.
Right.
And
it's absurd how much they rush to get it on digital these days.
Yeah, and even
especially back when Disney Plus was putting both out at the same time.
Yeah.
That's just as bad in my opinion.
Amazon does that with Red One wasn't successful, but before Christmas you could watch Red One at home, and everybody's got Prime.
You want to know what I did? I took my whole family to see Transformers One, but I took them to a 4D movie that like sprayed water in your face and all kind of stuff. The only reason why I did that is because I wanted the experience to at least be worth it to go to the movie theater. Because, like you stated, I figured in like 1 month it was going to be out, on streaming. Hence, I couldn't convince them to come with me. So I spent all this money up front, and yo, they love the movie, but it seems like I had to make this big, upfront purchase, for these tickets just to make it worthwhile. Because I knew within a month it was going to come out on streaming. So what's the point? You know what I mean?
In a way, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by
Yeah.
putting the movies out so soon after they're in theater. They're not letting the movie sit in theater when you can already buy it at home.
Right.
Yep,
So
I agree.
the studios complain that movies are not making money in the theaters. Well, no, because if I can wait 3 weeks, I'll watch it at home. That's your fault for
It's not
making it
just
available
that.
that quickly.
There's another caveat to that. Number one, Sonic has done really well, right? And people have lined up to go see Sonic 3. But that's because the fans of Sonic complained enough to get them to change Sonic 1 to look like the character.
Yeah.
And it
I
actually
still think it was a
worked.
stunt.
Yeah. It's
And they
also a kids movie
respected
that
the
came
source
out during the
material. Now, hold
Christmas
on.
break.
Hold on. So Sonic 1 comes out. Sonic 1 successful. Sonic 2 was a lot of fun for a lot of people. They loved it. Now they're going to see Sonic 3. So now Sonic 3 is doing really well. But it's got a specific corporate entity that is trying to prevent it from being more successful.
Oh yeah.
And it's only able to secure 3,700 screens nationwide in the United States.
Yep.
Because a certain corporate rat, Disney, wants Mufasa to do well and has 4,300 screens
And they've
all
lied
the
about
IMAX
it.
screens. So it's trying to prevent
Yeah.
Sonic 3 from being successful. Sonic 3 is still the number one movie. And then they're saying, well, Mufasa's the number one movie because we're on more screens. It's like, no, it's not. So you have all this hype happening between these two movies. But then nobody wants to go see a Transformers movie. Why is that? Because people have gotten burnt out from the same thing over and over again for Transformers. And you have all these other franchises that are coming out, and whether or not they're good is irrelevant, because if the movie's good, people will go see it. But if it comes out 3 weeks, a month later on streaming, they're not going to go see it in the theater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're shooting yourself in the foot that way. If it's on Paramount Plus as well as on digital, like I'd rather, if you want people to actually do so, then you're going to have to, put a movie out and let it sit
Change
for
something.
3
We gotta
months,
figure out
6
what
months.
we got to change.
What's that?
I think part of it too with
We just got to
the
figure out what they got to change here. Because I feel like Sonic's release was pretty fast in comparison to the trailer they
I
showed.
see what you did there.
gotta go
I thought
fast.
the trailer, yeah, gotta go fast. I thought the trailer
phone-
had came out quicker than most, if I'm remembering
But
right.
but also that movie came out during Christmas break, man.
It did.
You know
yeah.
how many of us are home with the kids that are sitting
Oh,
here
yeah.
bored? This is like every Christmas season. I take the last 2-3 weeks of the year off, and that's when we go see the most movies in theaters because there's nothing else to do.
Mhm.
So that's when
Yeah.
we go and catch up on movies at the theater. And having a 6-year-old, of course, when we went to see Sonic 3, there was a line of parents I've not seen a line of people at the movie theater. I can't tell you when the last time it was that I saw a line of people waiting to buy tickets. And there was a line, and it was all parents with little kids, all
Yeah.
wearing Sonic clothing.
Yeah, it was a packed theater when
Yeah.
my wife
Wow.
went.
Transformers 1 also came out like right in the middle of school.
Yeah, back to
You know?
school.
That
Yeah,
was
it was
that was
like
a
That's
that.
big
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like
And
2 p.m. on a
September.
Tuesday. It was
the other problem is that it was a staggered release, and Paramount did the same thing with Sonic. Granted, it wasn't as vast. It was like a week difference, but like it was like a month difference. So people that lived in Europe were already like they were waiting for Transformers 1. Europe and Asia, I think, got it a month later. And so
Yeah, a month late. Yeah.
piracy's a problem, and then they're already announcing, hey, it's coming to digital. A buddy of mine, True Pop Culture 7, he did a review of it with me, and I was like, wait, how did you see this? And he's like, I had my ways. But again, it's unfortunate because he's a big movie goer, but he wanted to talk about the movie while it was still relevant. He did go and pay to see it, but again, that's a problem when stuff starts hitting digital, and VPNs are a thing. So you could be in a territory, use a VPN, and see the movie for pennies on the dollar, and not support your theater.
Yeah,
and that was a big fight on Twitter about a month into the videos of the movie's release, with a group of people on the Transformers Twitter were raising an army to pirate the film. I was like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, if you
I mean,
want
you
this
would
movie
think-
to be successful, why are you doing that?
There were also people who wanted Transformers 1 to fail.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, and I know this is going to tick you off, Treebot, but there is a subset of the Michael Bay Transformers fandom that quite literally said, we want this movie to fail because it doesn't look like Bayformers.
Yeah, and I fought against those people myself. As the biggest Bayformers fan in the group here.
Yeah.
Like, I fought against those people for weeks, saying this is exactly why we have such problems defending the movies that we like, because people like you over there want to, or over there, not with us.
Don't be pointing. Don't be pointing.
Don't be pointing at you.
Over there, over here is like a hardcore G1 guy, man.
Yeah. People over there are wanting to quote, make fun of the movie and force the movie to fail and try to raise an army to make people fail.
Yeah.
And it makes us look bad that actually like the movie. Yeah, and he still produced the movie. So I don't know why people hate it so much, because his studio is licensing and producing the aspects of the movie that aren't Hasbro.
Yeah. He's still making money off of it, right? Doesn't mean.
Yeah, he's still involved with the franchise. He's still like, for better or worse, like, depending on, I don't know how people feel about the guy. I like the movies. He still enjoys having a part of it. He still enjoys being a part of it. Might not want to direct anymore, but he still enjoys being a part of it. So, what more do they want?
You got to give him credit.
What more do these people want?
You got to give him credit. Without him, we probably wouldn't even have a story. An entire movie line. I mean, those people are making billions of dollars.
And this is kind of like, it's not just movies, because Hasbro themselves, they don't want to make movies anymore because they don't see it being profitable for this exact reason, right? They see the release schedule, they see the problem with competition, they see people not going to the movies, so they don't want to finance movies, not just Transformers, but like, they don't want to do a G.I. Joe movie, they don't want to do a My Little Pony movie, they don't want to do any of it for their properties. So then the question comes in is, how do you get the properties that they're making to get back in the limelight of getting people to really be enjoying it again? And in my eyes, I mean, you have the comic book that's doing really well. Then you got a cartoon that's going to be coming out with that Cyber World, and we don't know what that's going to be. It looks to be something.
We don't know what it is.
Well, I think marketing is a key. Like, when Transformers in 2007 came out, no matter whether you went to Walmart, Target,
that thing was marketed for about 2 years ahead of time.
Yeah, there was hype. There was good marketing. Like, Hasbro has a big marketing problem, a huge marketing problem, and it's just it's bad. It's really bad, and it ties into the distribution and the fact that, like, again, like I was saying, when it came to Transformers 1, the stuff wasn't on the shelves. They didn't have the core characters all there. And on top of that, like, one of the biggest problems with their distribution is the stuff has no shelf life. And I don't know, I don't know who makes the decisions at like Target and Walmart stores, but it's just like stuff will go to Walmart or Target and it's on clearance, like selectively on clearance in 3 weeks. It has no shelf life.
Yeah.
When I was
I
collecting,
saw that happen with at my Walmart right across the street here. I've seen that happen a few times now. Ninja Turtles, when they started doing a year or two ago, when they started doing the reissues of the original '80s stuff, and it was on clearance before the movie came out. With
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, when Ghostbusters
Frozen
Afterlife,
Empire.
no, well, Afterlife, when Afterlife
Yeah.
was coming out, they put the toys, the Ghostbusters toys. They had the Afterlife toys, and they had the '80s reissued toys.
Yeah.
They were on clearance
Mhm.
within a week. The same
Wow.
week they were put out.
Yeah.
They were put out on Monday. By Friday, they
And-
were on the clearance shelf
This
before
goes
the
to show
movies
you
came
the
out.
problem with
Well,
not
like-
having
And
Toys
then
R
when
Us.
they did
That
the
proves
last
with
Ninja
the
Turtle
toys.
movie,
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
new Ninja
that
Turtle
proves.
movie that came out, Mutant Mayhem, same thing. The toys came out on a Monday. By Friday, they were on the
But
clearance shelf.
I think
The
it's a
movie
Hasbro.
hadn't come out yet.
Yeah, I think it's a Playmate and a Hasbro problem because picture this, you're Target, right? And like you have a deal with Hasbro, and they're like, okay, here's wave one of Legacy or Age of Primes, right? And you're like, okay, cool. Well, we'll get this stock. We'll do our shelf refresh. Great. Well, hey, in 2 weeks, wave two's coming out. So you're like, well, we got to make room for this. I something's gonna break, and I mean, we've seen these
I think
sections
it's
get small.
yeah. I think it's a third thing too. I think they're over producing toys.
Mm-hmm.
They're making too many of them. Like we talked about this earlier. Too many bumblebees on the shelf. And I think a fourth thing is this. I have people coming to me. I mean, it's not too many people around in my life that have a Transformers collection like this, right? So they'll come to me and say, you know what? Transformers 1 was a really great movie. And they just seen it in like December, right? It's been out of the theaters for 2 months now. And I mean, I've had a ton of people come to me and tell me this. And then my response back to them was, well, do you want to see the sequel? They said, oh man, I'm hoping that they're going to make a sequel. I said, well, they're not because nobody went to the theaters. So it kind of goes back to your point. The marketing is killing them, and they're just not running the business right. I don't think they really know what the heck they're doing anymore.
You
They
don't have
have
a visionary at the top.
right. Yeah, they're just
The
throwing.
visionary was Brian Goldner, and when Brian Goldner passed
Right.
away, Hasbro's vision for the future kind of passed. Now,
Yeah.
here's the thing: is that the current CEO of Hasbro came from Microsoft. He's all about video games.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So his whole mindset is how can we make microtransactions? That's what Transformers Reactivate was supposed to be.
Mhm.
Right. It was supposed to be a microtransaction galore where you're going to pay $5 to get your next character. You're going to pay another $5 to get the next character to be able to continue the storyline, to continue the game. And people are not going to be all about that. You know what I mean? So, you have to keep people invested in the franchise. And it's when you don't have a visionary at the top to get all of the avenues in place, you're only going to hurt the franchises as a whole. And it's not just Transformers.
It's everything.
He-Man is suffering from this. They're already talking about the fact that the next He-Man movie is not even going to follow the source material.
Mm-hmm.
They said we're going to be completely different. I'm like,
Well, they did that in the 80s and it didn't work.
I'm so tired of different from the source material that I just don't want to see it if it's not going to follow the source material. My thing is because these are long-standing franchises, if you're not going to respect the source material and come into the next thing and say, now you've got 5 people on a panel that are dedicated fans that are on YouTube with their YouTube channels talking up to high heavens about how this next movie, about this next thing is going to be awesome, right? If you don't have us, you don't have extra marketing, right?
Well,
It hurts the marketing because I'm going to want to pass Transformers on to my kids. My kids, what are they watching? Are they watching the more current stuff? No. What are my kids watching? Generation 1, Beast Wars, and they kind of want to watch some of the other stuff too, but they really, really enjoy Generation 1 and Beast Wars. They're also there's other stuff out there too. My kid, like Bert's kids, my kids are into Bluey. Everything from they were into Paw Patrol for a while. Now they're getting into Legos, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. And if they want to get them involved in a long running franchise, you have to keep the people who have been loyal to you going, so that they can pass it on to the next generation. So the next generation gets just as excited. So you can make 2 generations of fans.
Well, the
Mhm.
rise and fall of the
Generations
MCU.
of fans, you're just going to hurt the franchise in the long run.
You want to know what the top 3 shows she asks me to watch for on a daily basis? You got you got Bluey,
Mhm.
then you got She-Ra, the original
Wow.
She-Ra from the 80s, not the
Original
one that came out on Netflix a couple years ago.
Filmation.
And Power
The
Rangers.
Filmation,
Mighty Morphin.
Yeah.
and she wants to watch the Jurassic World cartoon, Chaos Theory.
Huh.
Those are the top 3 shows she asks me for on a daily basis. And her room is full of dinosaurs. And downstairs, She-Ra.
Hell yeah.
And she's got the Origins Filmation line, and she's got vintage toys. She's got a Castle Grayskull, a Snake Mountain, and a Crystal Castle.
Because
Remember we saw the Crystal Castle, Joe?
Because Bert,
By the way, yeah,
we're
she has all
passing
that.
this to the next generation.
And
We're
this is the
passing
stuff she
our
wants
things
it.
that we loved
She
to the next
wants
generation.
this stuff, and then that's what she wants to play with.
Well, I want to pick up on what Rodimus said about the source material and respecting the source material, right? I think the rise and fall of the MCU is a great example. The MCU really started off with Iron Man. Now, Iron Man's story had to change; they had to adapt it, and they changed Vietnam to Afghanistan, and they changed some core things about Tony Stark. Obviously, Jarvis is now, instead of being a real butler, he's an AI construct. But they respected the source material. They respected the things that made Iron Man resonate with the audience, and they updated it in a meaningful way to appeal to a general audience. To the core comic book fans, it was close enough. It was accessible to newcomers. It was anybody from any walk of life could find something to like in that.
Yeah.
And now when it comes to Marvel movies, they've deviated so far, and like so many characters are just the character in name only, that they've lost a lot of people. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that people need to do, is they need to study. This is why Iron Man worked, and these are the constructs that really make a reboot or a new entry point for any franchise work, and use that as the template. Those early phase 1 to 3 MCU movies, use those as your template. And then where did it fall off? Cringe humor. The cool thing about the MCU early on was that they were able to tell heist movies, comedies, straight up political intrigue thrillers. Like you go back and watch like Winter Soldier, man. That's like a tense awesome movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can do multiple genres in a universe. Now everything is kind of flanderized into a Marvel movie, where everything tried to be like, they saw success in Guardians of the Galaxy, and now everything has to be like a Joss Whedon or a James Gunn sort of movie. And they've done characters in name only, and it just really doesn't work all that well.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, that Iron Man should be the template for what you do, the springboard to make a franchise work. And they could not only do it with Transformers, they could do it with anything else. And that's why I love Transformers 1, is Transformers 1 captured the heart from multiple continuities.
Yes, it did. I agree. And they could have had so many things rooted to that. Like, I was waiting to see how they're going to bring in the different aerial bots and Bruticus, the Dinobot characters. Are they going to touch on the Wreckers? How they going to formulate? There was so much source material. I agree with you both.
A lot of potential.
If they were to just, the potential was there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping, I'm wrong for saying was. I hope that they kind of rethink it and realize that, hey, there is an opportunity here to potentially take this path forward and find somebody that has that vision, as you stated, Rodimus, at the top, that says, hey, we can write this ship for at least for this product here. This movie was good. It didn't produce the money because you made some marketing mistakes on it. But the aftermath of it is everybody's saying it's a great movie. I haven't heard one person that said that they hated the movie. Not one per person. Yeah. I'm talking major fans, even the people that never knew anything about Transformers.
I've seen some.
I took my kids.
I've seen a couple.
Very few and far.
Very few.
Very few.
Very few and far. Even people that had no clue came back and said, "Now I realize why Megatron and Optimus Prime became enemies." Mm-hmm. I didn't even know that they were friends, and I said, "Well, that wasn't the first case. They kind of turned it into this, but at least it kind of gives you a core where you can start to build off of, right?" And Well, right now, I think they just don't have a level of understanding as to how to run this business at this point in time. I think they're just grabbing. There must be so much pressure on the stock. I mean, the stock is plummeting. So I get it. But right now, if they don't write it, you're just going to see it spiral down more and more and more. I mean, there is no end to the fall. But they got to get some type of vision in place
Yeah.
because if they keep on doing reboots and starting with new cartoons, I don't even know what Cyber versus about. I never watched it.
It's another reboot of the franchise. It's like was done with like a 10-minute episodes,
Hmm.
and it's more comical in how it actually like everything comes across. So the show was fun, and it was a decent reboot, but I don't think the delivery of how to get the show out there, and I don't think everybody latched onto it because of how it felt more cartoony than even Robots in Disguise 2015 did. And so I think people kind of were like, I don't know if that's what I,
Which
what I'm
one is
in.
this? Cyberverse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never watched it.
It was decent. It was decent. The second season was a lot better. The second season was better than the first. And the third season, the middle of it, up until the end of the Quintesson arc, the show was actually very good. But
Wow.
and I think that the final episodes were very strong. But I think that it took a long while for that show to really get um,
Which one are you talking about?
a footing. Cyberverse.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was fun. I thought Cyber was pretty fun,
The first season
especially for a newcomer show.
I didn't care for the first season as much. Like that first season was like it dragged on a bit, but it was only 18 episodes, but it's 10-minute episodes.
Yeah, I watched a couple of episodes and then I was good.
Earthspark, what I didn't care for at all. I tried to watch it, and I've watched all of season 1, and I watched like a couple episodes of season 2, and I just was not feeling it.
So season 2 is not as it's not as strong. The first season I didn't have a problem with. It's just not really my cup of tea in terms of Transformers. Uh, but there were some moments in the later episodes that I did enjoy. But the Megatron fight was awesome, though, with the Seekers. I think that was probably the best part for me of Earthspark.
You want to know what I think is the best reboot so far? I mean, throughout the years, Beast Wars.
Yep.
I think Beast
That's
Wars
not
is
really
the
a
best
reboot.
one.
Yeah, it's the continuity
It's
of
not
G1.
true. It's not. But when you first watched it, I didn't know that it was connected. I don't think anyone knew.
I don't think it was meant to be. I think later down the line they were like, "Hey, what if we did this?" And
I think so
Well,
too.
they did it in season 1 though, like with possession and of course the
Yeah, I still think it was kind of down the line where they said we can potentially connect these because when it first kicks off,
Yeah.
there's no evidence that it's connected to G1.
because they
No.
brought
So
on Ben Yee, who did BWTF.com as a consultant for the story.
Right. Because here's the thing with Beast Wars, they were just like, okay, we're just making a new show. Oh, there's the Transformers before this. We'll just say, oh, the Great War. Remember the Great War? So they'll just acknowledge the old show. And they're like, oh yeah, wow, there's a whole audience out there, and that's when they turned to the fandom and said, can you teach us about Transformers? And they were
And then
like,
that
and the
season
fandom
2
at the
started.
time, the alt.toys.transformers crowd were just like, yeah, here's all the knowledge you need to know. And so adding Starscream to episode 4 in the dream sequence, and then adding him to an episode later on, to making Unicron show up as a disguise for one of the Vok, and then eventually season 2 having the whole storyline was because they got involved with the fandom. And that's something that we have not had out of talented writers who had already made great cartoons out of like the Zelda cartoon and the He-Man cartoon. They co-created She-Ra, and then they go off and create Beast Wars, and of course Reboot. And ever since, like every Transformers cartoon thereafter has been like not really from They just want to do it their own way. They want to do it their own way, not what really works for, not just the series, but also for the fandom as a whole. So
I think animated did well. That's still my favorite. I love
I
animated.
loved animated.
And
And it got
animated,
so
I
much
just
hate when it was
rewatched it.
running, and it was so
I
good.
just rewatched it. It was so fun to watch it on its first run on Cartoon Network, and just to see people like when Swindle showed up. He's one of my favorite incarnations of him throughout the entire multiverse. I think he's hilarious. And then Blitzwing. Blitzwing's probably my favorite Decepticon.
Yeah.
Watching Blitzwing and Lug
And
not
those
do
are some of
anything
my
in that show is
favorite
hilarious.
Transformer toys, or the animated toys.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got
So
Sideswipe
with
up here from Bot
all of
Mod.
this that we just kind of ranted on for a while, and I know there are other people out there on YouTube that are probably talking about stuff, and I don't want to bring up any names, but I do want to ask you guys, what do you think um, is the future of Transformers as a whole, and what should they do moving forward? Like what not only what do you think, what its trajectory, where do you think it's going, and where do you think they should go? So
They should
let's ask
reissue.
first. Let's ask. I'm going to ask you guys in tandem, so because this way I want to, because I know that we are all like want to jump on the bandwagon. So I'll start with Treebot and I'll work my way around.
Cool.
So, just to bring it back a little bit, when I jumped on, the marketing for this toy line was absolutely insane, and it wasn't just the toy line. Like you saw this logo, this red Autobot Decepticon logo was everywhere, and I mean, I remember my family would just buy cups and dinnerware with this stuff for me when I was a kid. That's the kind of stuff I wish would come back. Just that kind of marketing, that kind of marketing back then was amazing. And then once Universe even came out, like that Universe logo was everywhere. But another thing I just wish they would do, don't crutch on the movie so much for marketing, or I shouldn't say marketing, just to get the name out. We need new shows. We need shows again on TV, not just on streaming platforms. I think that's a big plus. And we need to do something a little different with the toys. The gimmicky stuff being put into two different packages is kind of ridiculous. I think that needs to stop because at one point there was, I think it was Cyberverse and Rise of the Beast had the same figures, and then they just did it again with Earthspark.
Mm-hmm.
Really don't want them to do that anymore, and then just fix the distribution, I think, and that'll kind of get us on the right track again, back to what we should be as a franchise. And then as in terms of the fandom, we just need to find some common ground as well with certain stuff, especially with how this game has been with Twitter scene and everything with the game. There needs to be some common ground found within certain talking points as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think in there, Leland? Or
So, so when I excuse me, when I kind of look back at what made Transformers for us magical was we had a TV series, right? And then in 1986 we had a movie, and then we had a series after that, right? I believe if you gave me the keys to Hasbro and I had a chance to reformat Transformers, I would say we have an opportunity right now where we just made a really good movie that people like. Get rid of all these other cartoons. Bring out a cartoon series related to Transformers One, with a movie coming out at some point. Then make another TV series related to that, and then another movie, what have you, going down that line. That way, I have some level of continuity, right? I don't exactly know what to do with the movies that were live action at this point in time. I don't know. I mean, the Rise of the Beast is supposed to have a G.I. Joe crossover, maybe keep that in some format. But I would try to capitalize as much as I can on the success of the development of Transformers One and the potential aftermath success that may come after this movie. I think there's something out there relative to the toy lines. I would kind of do something similar, simplify it, have it related to the TV series and the movies, and and continue the collector's line, maintain the masterpiece, maybe maintain the studio series, but minimize that as well. And one thing I would really avoid and try to fix this whole distribution issue, right? We shouldn't be waiting for toys to come out. It's taking so long, right? We shouldn't be having these toys that are going into clearance within like 3 weeks because nobody wants them, and maybe reduce the pricing structure as well a little bit to make them easier, to be accessible here. And I think the final thing relative to the fandom, I don't think there's anything to change. I think the fact that the fandom kind of fights a little bit, kind of keeps it intense. I don't mind that. But I think it's Hasbro. They just need to right the ship. It's just too hard right now to follow Transformers. There's too much going on at one time. I think it's really confusing people. Just simplify it. Go back. I would say a series right after Transformers One, related to it. Maybe another movie too, and that's coming up, and then a series after that, and just trying to go forward from there.
What do you think, Extra Zero?
One movie and one show helps.
Yeah. Well, I agree with a lot of what Leland said, and I think that one of the things they need to do for the media element is they need to move away from Paramount, and I think that they need to, again, there's a lot of people that love the Bay stuff, and I think one of the aside from Michael Bay, one of the core people that made things happen was Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg was a co-founder of DreamWorks, and DreamWorks does really good work with animation. And they had a very successful cartoon tie-in, reusing assets for How to Train Your Dragon. If it were me, what I would try and do is create a movie that takes more than meets the eye and retells that. Take those core elements, like I was talking about with what made the first Iron Man work. Take those elements, set it in present day. I hate to say, I love the 80s, and I love the Bumblebee movie, but I would like to see like what it would be like to have a movie where it's 2025, there's a volcanic eruption and a father and son duo discover these robots and their secret war. And there's so much you could do with that with a small cast. And then you can take that, have that be a jumping off point. Where do you get your sequels out of that? Well, the stories you tell in the cartoon are the in-between, and then the major events can happen in movies. I don't want a complete retread of G1, but I want the heart, and I want the core storylines, and I want cohesion, and I want a bit more spectacle in the movies. And also too, like, really, I think Leland nailed it. You gotta like work with these stores. You have to create some synergy. I think there's really talented designers at Hasbro, and I think that the engineering on Transformers is the best it's ever been. But Hasbro has a budget problem. As the toys get more expensive, we keep seeing nips and tucks in our designs. And they'll always chalk it up to, well, these things don't make what they used to. But if you keep doing those nips and tucks, one of the things that I hear when kids are in the toy aisle and they're with their parents, oh, mommy, daddy, I want that. Well, you broke the last few that you got. And I know that these kids' toys are not built like they used to be. And if you create something that's like tough and durable and built a little bit more like a Tonka truck, but also transforms and has the complexity like that main line used to have, like what Treebot and Datacon were saying, like, you got to have some cohesion. You can create articulated figures that aren't the most complex in engineering and are fun. We got to bring the fun back to the franchise. And, the other element too,
but yeah,
you do that retelling of G1. You can have little elements from other things. You can have those little Bayverse elements that people like. You can do what animated did. The thing that made animated work is it respected every franchise that came before. You saw Bayverse represented. Blackout was an animated. You saw the 86 movie they got Judd Nelson back. We saw Hotshot in there from Armada. We saw Beast Wars characters in there. In fact, Wasp was an awesome recreation. And you could do that. You could have that synergy. So you try to appease the fans, but you take the heart of what made G1 work and you course correct. Look, Hasbro should be like looking at all of their mistakes as things not to do. And they have a long history of successes, and they just need somebody that cares, has the intelligence, and wants it to succeed, rather than I'm going to take this job and I'm going to try and make my money and then cash out. And I think that's exactly what Chris Cox is trying to do.
I agree.
So what are you thinking, Bert?
Well, two things need to happen. First thing, Chico in the chat, I want you to look at your keyboard. Over on the left, there's a key called caps lock. I want you to unpress it. The second thing that needs to happen is they need to reissue Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus.
He doesn't care about anything.
Oh, yeah.
He wants his Ultra Magnus.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
You know,
scratch
I-
everything I said. I'm with Bert on this one.
I see a comment in here too that Hasbro needs to ditch Lorenzo.
You like that, Bert?
What are we looking at?
He look,
Yeah.
You like
he's
that?
got his Ultra Magnus.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Oh,
There's a corporate problem, and it's not just Hasbro. I mean, it's just corporations in general nowadays that at the top, I mean, at every level, there's a revolving door of people just going in and out. So you got a lot of people coming in, not knowing what's going on and trying to do their own thing. This has always been the problem with Hollywood, right? There's always a producer that wants to get their hand in there and they want to do their own thing. And that's why the final product is always so different from what they started from. Well, with Hasbro, along with the revolving door of personnel that just are constantly trying to catch up with what's been going on, there's also the issue of the profits. You know, they don't give the consumer an opportunity to find the product. The moment they put something out, they expect it to turn a profit in 24 hours. And if it didn't, cancel it, get rid of it, fire everybody that was involved with it, bring me a new team in here to bring me some fresh ideas. They don't give the consumer the opportunity to find a product and let the product be successful.
that's a good point.
That shelf life.
That's why we got toys on clearance a week after they get put out on the shelves.
Yep.
And,
You
you know,
know?
people dunk on McFarlane, and I'm not the biggest fan of the current toys he's putting out, but they have room to breathe on the shelf. If he puts out something and you're like, oh, I'm interested in that, you can go into a Target or a Walmart and find it a few months later or find it online. Whatever McFarlane's doing for his distribution, other people need to learn from it.
Yeah. And he's been good at that for years. Because, I mean, he was putting out stuff when I was like 10, 11 that I was buying up because I was getting into like Halo at the time. And he made some good Halo figures back in the day.
Yeah.
And
NECA's good at it too.
Yeah.
NECA, I have my own personal issues with NECA figures.
Well, the
But
figures
there's-
are one thing, but when they know
Yeah.
there's fan demand, they're like, "Oh, hey,
Yeah.
you really wanted this character from Ninja Turtles? Well, don't worry. We know the secondary market's causing problems. We'll reissue it."
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just want to kind of point out something that you know, and this kind of like goes right back into everything. The constant reimagining of these franchises is what really ticks off a lot of fans. But look at Ninja Turtles. You know, Ninja Turtles has remained, even if it's got a lot of changes. Like a lot of people didn't like Rise, and there are a lot of people who did. But it's still all of the Ninja Turtle stuff has remained true to what Ninja Turtles is. Four brothers who are trained to be ninjas and they kick butt, right?
Right.
Whereas Transformers constantly is like, it doesn't know what it is. You know, like it doesn't know what kind of story it wants to tell. It's supposed to be the Autobots fight the Decepticons, the heroic Autobots fight the evil Decepticons with the fate of planet Earth, and then later the universe hanging in the balance. And if you
usually we get that.
What's that?
I said usually we get that, but it's got an asterisk next to it.
It's got an asterisk next to it because the Decepticons are really misunderstood, or you know,
sometimes
they're
they're
trying to throw
outnumbered.
another spin on
Sometimes they're
things.
evenly matched. Sometimes they're fighting for something.
Right, but there has to be a little bit of going back to
Consistency.
basics
Oh, for sure.
and just to like go back to that core of what Transformers is. It's robots in disguise. They're turning into cars and trucks and airplanes. Well, are they are they hiding? Are they hiding from humans? Are they hiding from the military? Or like what's the whole idea behind robots in disguise? And why aren't the Decepticons like a major threat anymore? We haven't had Decepticons as this major villain. Like even Cyberverse didn't get the Decepticons really as a major villain because they were just kind of like almost like I almost feel like the Decepticons were like an afterthought in a way.
The Decepticons weren't even in Rise of the Beast.
The
No.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I haven't seen
They're supposed to be
Megatron.
villain,
Where's Megatron? I haven't seen him in the live actions in what 10 years. Seriously, I
almost
mean,
10 years Megatron
Last
was
night
on.
was it?
every reiteration of Turtles hasn't been successful either. It's had its bombs as well. Michael Bay comes to mind again, but
Well,
if
people
you
like the
if
second one though.
Yeah, the
the
one is
second one was admittedly better than the first one, but if you look at, for example, getting to the point that Joe was just making, you look at the Turtles, the 2012 series. I think that's
love
probably one of the, if not the best turtle
Mhm.
story ever told because it stayed true to the original roots of
Yeah.
what the turtles are, the four brothers that are trained and they kick butt and all of that. But then it also respected everything else and it took the best parts out of everything that had come before it and integrated it. So it almost became this like perfect turtle story because regardless of what turtles version you liked, it was going to be in the show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It treated-
it's
it
funny,
treated
Bert.
right.
You mentioned 2012. That was my breaking point from being a casual Ninja Turtle fan to becoming more of a hardcore fan of Ninja Turtles. I really enjoyed 2012, and the fact that I think the biggest changes in that show really benefited it. I think Krang being an army of brain monsters I think that was even better in the show rather than just
And he
him
was
being a
over
single
God.
player.
The Utron were originally, I mean, the little brain dudes was originally whole species, not just
Yeah.
one Krang like it was that was just something they did in the 87 cartoon. So they actually kind of brought that back from the original comic book story.
Yep, for sure. And I've enjoyed a lot of different Transformers series over the years, but I think that just going back to that basic thing, a lot of us have wanted that continuation of where Generation 1 left off.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's ever going to be a
We
thing
got that.
going to
We got
happen. But really where they need to go is something that can really truly be like in a way like kind of like the 2012 Turtles was kind of like a good modernized because some people say the 2003 cartoon is the best Turtles cartoon, but
It's good. It's really dark.
yeah,
Yeah, well,
that one?
for its own reasons. It's because that is the closest to the original comic books that
yes,
you've ever gotten in cartoon form. And so the comic book purists considered that to be the best show for good reason because it's closest to the comic.
right.
Yes, that.
But be careful what you wish for when it comes to like we want to continue from G1, right?
But they would never be able to do it right.
Yeah, because we got that with Masters of the Universe, and while I absolutely love the Masters of the Universe Revolution and what was it called before that? The first season, whatever it was called, the Kevin Smith,
Is that the Kevin Smith?
the Kevin Smith one. I loved it. I thought it was great. I have absolutely no complaints about it. However, I'm in the minority. A lot of people hated it, and that's a continuation of the original Filmation. So you got to be careful what you wish for.
Well, it
is
wasn't
that the one?
really a continuation of the original Filmation because they had certain licensing rules and things that prevented them from acknowledging all of the Filmation cartoons. So really,
Yeah.
it was a continuation of
Yes, but it was absolutely that was the intent from
era.
the beginning. The intent
Right.
was this is a continuation. It's going to pick up where Filmation left off.
But
They can't
for a
do
lot of
She-Ra.
people, it
They
hurt
can't do
the
She-Ra
franchise.
because of
Plus,
licensing.
like you said, it's the minority. You're the minority.
Yeah.
And why are you the minority? Is because people felt that they disrespected He-Man, and I get it. You know, like
Isn't
Well,
that
that's
the
how
one
it
where
is.
Red Skull was this big black guy?
yep.
Right? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I actually loved that one.
Yeah, and that's where I
I'm
am
I
with
with
love
Purple.
this
this.
one.
You know,
Yeah,
this gets
it's
a lot of
great.
hate. Fine, but there's still plenty of people that enjoy it that are into Transformers. We might be in the minority. I mean, there's a lot of people that are casual fans that enjoy the Bayverse movies, but in the fandom, I would say the Bayverse loyalists are a minority.
Well, there's people like me too that don't like the movies but like the toys.
Yeah, that
You
too.
know,
You know what? Tree, but I love the movies. I loved them. What I hated was how they destroyed this storyline at the end. I don't know
Oh
what the
yeah.
heck they were doing. I mean, to
So
me, yeah, I mean, to me, Transformers Five, you know, the last night was the same as season 4 of G1,
yeah,
yeah,
where it was
we
like
don't
it's
consider it
so many,
canon. A lot of the
yeah,
Bayverse fans refuse to accept the last two as canon. We'd rather just have the
yeah,
first three and be done with it. You know,
mm,
because it
Yeah, it looks
makes
disrupts a
like
sense.
lot of the goods. It disrupts a lot of the good stuff. And even as, like I said, I'm the biggest Bayverse fan here. I've only watched the last night all the way through one time, and it was in the theater. I've just watched parts of it on the DVD and on FX when it's
I've
on.
watched it. You know what's sad is I've watched The Last Night many more times than you have, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I've only seen
Yeah.
it
And
once.
it has
That
great
was enough.
ideas in it. It just refuses to give it any payoff, and it's just not paced well either. And there's so many things that could have gone well with that movie, and it went towards its downfall. And it's really unfortunate. And the same goes
I'm
for
still trying to figure out.
Damage.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out when did Megatron come back? Well,
That's the
it's
problem.
Galvatron.
That's
That's
the
that's
problem.
something
well,
that
he was only Galvatron in the only the humans called him Galvatron, so I can excuse that. Like Galvatron was
he
the
called
name
himself Galvatron, and
Yeah, he called himself that once,
he said, "I am Galvatron," and then
and then
he
gives all
like.
the
yeah,
But then at the end of the movie, he
like
said, "I'm reborn." So I guess you could
yeah,
say he basically started calling himself Megatron after that again.
yeah.
I don't know.
But
credit
then
where it's
he
due,
stopped
though.
being made
Frank
out of
Welker did a great
transformium.
performance.
Yeah.
So it's the Japanese Transformers cartoon trope. I'm gonna call myself this now, and that's who I am.
Yep.
I'm a new color.
I'm great shot
I'm
now.
a repaint now. So
I
call
feel
me
like
something else.
I feel like a gold bug.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm pretty much at the point. Yeah, I kind of agree that like they would never be able to actually continue Generation One properly. And would they even get somebody that cares enough about continuity to make it work? Probably not.
God forbid they do it
They
like
they
Galvatron
tried
did.
to after Beast Machines
Yeah,
with Transtech.
Did
They
they?
wanted that to all come
Yes,
together.
that's right.
right.
Yeah, Transtech.
But by
It's
that, but
unfortunate
Beast
because
Machines was
Transtech became
such
its
a
own
poor
thing completely now
takeover.
in the
Yeah.
continuity. You know, it's its own.
But
It's completely its own thing now.
but go to so I kind of acknowledge like we're probably never going to come back to that. But I like the idea of like what Extra Zero was saying, and a lot of you guys are saying is like go back to that basic, simple story. You know, you can almost take the Skybound comics and retell
Yeah.
it, and
Look at
just
Kung
you know
Fu
you can make it
99's
kind of
comment.
say again.
Look at Kung Fu Hustle 99's comment.
Oh
I'm
boy.
I'm sorry for reminding you that was a thing.
He
You know,
re-traumatized him, right?
I hate to say it because he's in an abundance of things, but you know who would make a really good Spike Witwicky?
Go ahead.
Tom Holland.
I was gonna say the Spider-Man.
He's on
Who
the
would be
older
a
side now, I think.
But that's fine. He still looks young enough, and if you need Spike to age,
for an adult Spike, maybe at this point.
feel like
Because
a younger
well, I mean,
John
Spike wouldn't be
Goodman would
working
be a
on an
good
oil
spot.
rig. Yeah, 18-year-olds wouldn't be
well, you
working on
wouldn't have
oil
to
rigs.
work on an oil rig.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the only problem I have with G1 is the tiny things like that. Is like, why is Spike on an oil rig? Why is he on an oil rig?
The
You
80s
never
were a
know.
different
He
time.
grew up
They
on an
never
oil
tell
rig.
us.
Very different.
You didn't ever
He
ask that.
grew
People
up.
never
He
ask
grew
these
up on that
questions.
rig, man. Sparkplug was a single dad. Spike grew up on that rig, and as soon as the day he turned 18, hey, you can work now.
That's my next episode of things about Transformers that keep me up at night. Why is Spike on an oil rig?
I spike it all right.
He
Hey,
was trying
listen,
to
man,
buy
I
a
was
Nintendo.
working.
The
Listen, man,
question
I
you
was,
should really be asking is what happened to Sparkplug after season 2?
He was
he
supposed to
died.
actually show up in Five
Diabetes.
Faces of Darkness. He was in the
Diabetes.
script for Five Faces of Darkness. It was supposed to be him, Sandstorm, and Blaster.
I
And
thought
then
he died.
and so
What a
they
pairing.
for
What a
whatever
pair.
reason they they changed it so that Sandstorm appeared later, and with Fight or Flee, and decided to make it Outback. Replace the two of them in that episode. So they were supposed to still be around. It's just that they were, doing something different. So I think Sparkplug was still around. He was probably just retired.
So the
You know,
answer to
sorry, guy.
what happened to Sparkplug is diabetes.
So okay, now we're getting off on this tangent. Was Springer and Blitzwing replaced basically by Sandstorm and Octane? Is that what happened to them? Because I don't see them throughout the rest of G1.
No, Springer was in season 3.
Yeah, Springer was
Yeah,
season
he
3.
was at the beginning of it, but I don't remember seeing him in any later episodes.
He was in Call of the Primitives,
Yeah.
fighting alongside Rodimus and Ultra Magnus and everybody. Springer was in Dark Awakening. Springer was in, I think he
The
was.
Return of Optimus Prime too, wasn't he? Wasn't he in the Return of Optimus
No, he
Prime?
wasn't in Return.
He wasn't.
Because I know he's not in the Rebirth at all.
He was in Burden Hardest to Bear.
Yes.
He said, hey, are you ready to go after him, Roddy?
Yeah, that's right. And then Rodimus gets pissed off. He's like, "Nope, I'm done. Screw you guys. I'm
He
going home."
carried over to the Headmasters, didn't he?
He was in Headmasters. He was leading the Triple Changers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Springer carried over in the Headmasters.
Yeah. So, but I was trying to see that was like, I would love a continuation of Generation 1. Heck, I wouldn't even mind if they localized the Japanese continuity so that they kind of make it work in American continuity.
Yeah.
Malaysia tried.
An official. I'm talking about official.
Did Malaysia not do an official one?
They've never done an official. They never, that you'd have to get Toei to give rights, and it's a whole nother discussion. So if you're really going to continue on, you do need to go back to that basics. Autobots versus Decepticons. The Autobots are for the cars. They're in disguise. They're hiding from humans because they don't necessarily want to get found out. The Decepticons, are military, hardware and stuff. So you can have your jets and your tanks and stuff, because they're trying to conquer the universe and the Autobots have to come to save the day. Just that basic premise, can tell that story well, can get people excited. And it could be a continuation after, Transformers 1. You can make the Transformers 1, even if you wanted to, you could make a direct to, maybe a direct to digital sequel to Transformers 1 as a continuation, but then have an Earth storyline that's, can that people can connect to a little bit more. But you also need, I think, you guys are all saying it, you don't need 25 different Optimus Primes on the shelf.
Yeah.
You need one Optimus Prime.
Yes, I do.
Or, yeah, you do. But I mean,
you
get what I mean. Like you don't need like the one, like every single character, every single toy line, every single size class. It's a matter of trying to. You almost have to limit it in order to make every single figure that comes out on the shelf to be worth the budget that they're spending on these toys. Because otherwise, people are going to be buying these toys, and it's like you said, like you broke the last one, and that's how you be able to continue this to be going forward. Because so many people think that Transformers can't come out of the downward trajectory it seems to be going in, but I do think that it can. It just needs good, simple storytelling that can engage the audience, and also the distribution of that show. Because do you do the YouTube model? Do you do the Netflix model? Do you do the TV network model? What are kids watching cartoons now? And that's where you have to capture that audience. It can't be on a streaming platform that's only makes up 10% of the entire market share. You
And it's
know,
also just
And
parents turning it on when they're going to bed too. I mean,
and
that's
if it's going to be streaming, I would say follow what Paramount Plus does with a lot of their shows, one episode a week. Don't put the whole thing out there all at once. Okay, I watched it on a Sunday and I'm out. Now I'm done.
but that's what I'm
There's no
saying. Transformers
retention.
Plus I mean, Paramount Plus is the issue that I'm talking about.
No, but I mean that specific model, right? When it comes to streaming, for example, like if you look
One
at
episode a week.
like when we got Earthrise, for example, on Netflix, we got the whole thing all at once. You watch it on a Sunday and you're done. We did that. We watched it all in one night so that
Right.
we could do a live stream about it the next day. That's fine for what we were doing, but there's when it comes to kids and it comes to marketing and it comes to trying to sell toys, which at the end of the day is what what Hasbro's trying to do. That doesn't generate any retention. If you do one episode a week, like Paramount Plus does with Star Trek, for example, Lower Decks, every week I couldn't wait to watch that new episode every week. Disney Plus with Star
And you
Wars,
get
I got
people talking about it.
my daughter and I
Oh, yeah.
every week
Watch
we're
one
waiting
episode.
for that new
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah,
That
Clone
creates
Wars.
retention.
Oh yeah,
Exactly. You
Big
have
time.
one episode comes out, and then everybody's talking about that one episode. Or if you have two episodes come out at first,
Yep.
and then you're going to wait for the one episode,
Yeah.
one episode. It gets people excited about it.
Yep.
You know,
Dave
I
Blanca
think-
just said it too. X-Men 97, one episode a
Well,
week.
oh yeah.
X-Men
Excellent.
97 made so many people excited because it was a continuation where the original X-Men cartoon left off,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, and it picked up from the moment that cartoon left off, right? But again, one episode a week, so there's retention.
Yes.
You're waiting for the
So
next.
you can
you don't just one
continue
and
where
done.
G1 left off, but it can captivate old and new audiences if done right. So it's a matter of what decisions do they make. You
Well,
know, and I don't
another
know-
big one. There's a problem with kids' cartoons now where there's this stigma like, oh, we don't want it to feel like it's to sell toys. I'm sorry, but some of the best stories came from having that. And I think that one of the issues with toys falling off and with kids like kind of not retaining these cartoons is that some of the writers like, well, we don't want it to just be about selling toys. You kind of I'm sorry, you kind of have to get back to some of those mindsets of
Yes.
we need this to be a little bit because
Really good model.
I was watching
Yeah.
this guy Dumb Jake, and he was going through. He was just doing.
Oh, I
like a
love
watch.
Dumb Jake.
Yeah,
He's one of
and
my good friends. Yeah, we're good friends.
did you see his commercials video?
Yeah.
And yeah, he's
Yeah,
going. He's like, man, it shouldn't be this much fun to watch these commercials. But those commercials were imaginative. They were creative. They were fun. I'm sorry, like if you want to market a product, which that's what Transformers is, you're marketing a product. You have to have some of that. Yeah, exactly. Sell the damn toys. You got to do something to like sell the toys. To have things that kids are going to want to. That's going to inspire their imagination. Like, oh, I want to do this. I'm going to create this at home. You know, I want to clank these guys together. I want to build a volcano and have them fight on top of it.
Mhm.
You know, that element's been kind of gone, and I feel like a lot of these shows are like they want to be like, hey, I love Star Trek, but I can't get the keys to Star Trek, so I'm going to tell Star Trek like stories within this franchise or Star
Well,
Wars
or-
like stories.
That's
And-
called the Orville.
Right. And like Star Wars is more like toyetic and the vehicles and the scenery and the lived-in universe, but neither one of them really at their heart. Like Star Wars was lightning in a bottle when it came out in 77 and it had the toy line become successful, but it wasn't conceived to sell toys. It just worked
Oh,
that
no.
way.
Yeah, and I mean, it gets reinforced. That gets reinforced by the fact that nobody would sign a merchandising deal with Lucas
Mhm.
except for Kenner. You know, so that just proves your point even more. You
Yeah.
know,
And then when the special editions came out, those were designed to sell toys because, oh, hey, let's add a Dewback walking in this scene, and oh, let's add Dash Rendar's
Yeah.
ship shooting out of.
They had Power of the
of-
Force 2 on
Yeah.
shelves when those came out.
let's
so-
have more let's get more banthas in the
You
background.
got a lot of people saying, you know, a lot of people nowadays, they think back to cartoons in the 80s and they go, oh, all those cartoons did was sell toys. They were done but 22-minute
Toy commercials.
toy commercials, and there was no educational content to any cartoon on TV. That's just simply
Yep.
not true. There was plenty of educational children's programming. I'd say it was about half and half.
Yeah.
But people have selective memory. They only, oh, it was all commercials. They were marketing the kids. It was nearly abuse. And we can never go back to that again. Yes, we can. There was a good balance. There was plenty of educational shows back then. Let parents control what your kids are watching, and let me have some dumb cartoons that don't want to teach me a lesson and want to sell me a toy.
You know what's
Some
ironic
of the
too?
best shows we got came from that right there.
What's ironic too is that, like, back then that stuff used to air over the waves for free, and people complained about it, and they were reductive. But now people are like, well, Fortnite's a free game, but what's Fortnite's design? To get you to buy cosmetics. It has supplanted that. So again, if you don't have a problem with that, why is there this reductive way of thinking about children's shows being escapist and inspiring imagination? You don't have to buy the toys, but
That's
should.
Guys,
the
I got
That's
it.
it.
I got it. What we have to do, they got to make a video game that ties into and is a good, fun game. And yes, okay, they're selling the cosmetics. Yes, they're selling the toys, but it ties into whatever TV show that, because the TV shows, we can talk about the TV shows. They cost a lot of money to make, but they've got to make, a video game that's just as much of a toy commercial. Because how many Fortnite toys are they selling now? I mean,
Hasbro's making good money off of Fortnite toys.
No, not now.
Yeah, I agree.
No, they
when it started,
Fortnite's
they were doing well.
pipeline to Ollie's. Like Jazzwares is actually doing okay, and they had it before, and they were doing well. Hasbro scooped it up, and Hasbro kind of gave it an early grave because it was stepping on their toes wave after wave after wave right to clearance.
Okay, then it was the early stuff that I was seeing sell well. The Nerf guns did sell. The Nerf guns sold, but that's just licensing a Nerf gun. That's just part of their general product. That's
and Nerf has a very hardcore, almost like Transformers base to it, with people that mod the guns and review them.
Almost like Legos following in a way. Nerf guns. My son has like a modified guns downstairs in the basement that he did. So
yeah, Nerf was a big part of my life for about a year, and I went right back to Transformers.
I have so many bins of Nerf guns in the garage still.
I agree. I think if a game's going to come out, it's all be related. I believe their best bet in terms of a continuity is just to start with Transformers 1, continue that in a way. It's new. It didn't do well in the theaters, but it's their best bet at this point in time to keep something popping off without having to reinvest. I mean, the company's struggling, right? If they have to reinvest in kicking off something new, if they have this, it's still fairly new. Go forward with it in some way. Again, I don't know what to do with the live action movies at this time. I don't know. They're kind of sitting there in like limbo.
Put the live action movies on the shelf, and God, I just want TF1 to continue, man.
Yeah, let the live action movies rest. Like, I'm not going to say let them die, because there's a lot of nostalgia still in there, but like, just let them rest. They've fought enough. They fought enough battles. But another thing I agree with majorly that Extra said earlier, let DreamWorks have it.
Yeah,
they like he said, they made phenomenal shows off of movies. Did they work on Riders of Berk?
Yeah, they did, and that's what I was saying. They reused assets from the movie, so you had a TV show that felt authentic to the movie. But
Riders of Berk was great.
That is a Berk. Nobody's writing Berk.
Because, like, imagine if they did that for TF1. They're like, hey, it takes place after Megatron's exiled from Iacon, and they have maybe Ironhide, Sideswipe, and RC, forming up this group and trying to fix the damage, and they're coming into their ability to transform because they've never transformed, and there are some of there's like a rift between the new Autobots and the old guard, and some of the high guards trying to come back into Iacon. There's so many stories you could tell in between Transformers 1 and its sequel.
Because honestly, I want to know what happened to Darkwing. He was smacking around both Megatron and Optimus Prime. What happened to that dude? They become
a story that could easily be an episode in that show.
I don't think I don't think Keegan Michael Key's hard to get either. Like they could probably afford to have him come in every now and then do a few episodes as Bumblebee. You know,
Yeah. I mean, he does Key and Peele. Well, I don't know if it's still running on Comedy Central, but he did
that's
Key and Peele on a
long
regular
gone.
basis.
Yeah.
You know, he used to do that on a regular basis. So it's like, surely they could get him for that.
They
An
can even
episode
do
of Trypticon.
even do a series about the 13 Primes before Sentinel's
A
betrayal.
prequel. Yeah,
Yeah.
a prequel. Yeah.
Brian,
Yeah,
Brian
let's
Tying
see.
it
Tyree
to
Henry
Hasbro's current toy line.
Yeah, and that's the
itching
thing.
to do Megatron.
Yeah,
Go ahead. What were you going to say? That ties into what?
we're saying that ties into the Age of Primes toy line.
Well, I'm saying it ties
Yeah.
into if they decide to
Yeah.
actually continue on,
Yeah.
it would tie in with Age of Primes and actually, make people more excited about buying those toys.
Yeah.
And to know and see what the actual backstory was for that. But that's it's to get it's a matter of getting enough people excited that they want to tune in and buy the toys.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, Hasbro is always going to be about selling toys.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not selling toys, then what's the point, right?
But I think it's that media component that's been missing, and that fear of we don't want our media to be conceived as a toy commercial. But that's one of the core tenets.
That's
I think
the
that's
core
hurting
component.
them. Yeah.
But while it is a core component, the thing that made it work even like as far back as the 2010s, even like the early 2010s, even going far back to G1, was that you had good storytellers.
Yeah.
You had very good storytellers. And it's not just Transformers, but every fandom has the problem of it has the issue of they are too busy with other things to not tell a good story. And I interviewed Jim Shooter on this channel, and the one thing he said to me is just tell me a good story. Tell me a good story. And that's something that stuck with me when I talked with him, was like he was wanting to make sure that Marvel Comics was telling good stories at the time. You had these people who had restrictions, and they didn't necessarily agree with him on everything, but they worked around their boundaries. And this is also something else that they have to take into consideration. When you're given boundaries, you will go out of your way to tell a good story around the boundaries that you are forced upon. Trying to work that good story in. Well, I'm not allowed to tell a story like this. Well, I'll tell a story kind of like working around it. You can kind of see it on the back burner, but not actually see it there because I'm telling a good story around it. And that's something that just hasn't happened with a lot of other fandoms. Star Wars has had that issue, and all oversaturation is the other issue. So, but
no, I agree. Like one thing I absolutely loved in Transformers 1 is when D16 was beating up Starscream. Starscream dared him, hit me. He pulled his arm back, and that cannon disappeared out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? And he could have killed him, but he gave him mercy. And then that helped me to understand why he kept Starscream around all that time, when he could have easily wiped him out at any point in time.
I gotta rework that video now.
Right? Because I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Starscream was the leader.
Mm-hmm.
He saw that the other, high guard had some level of respect for him. Mm-hmm. But he kept Starscream around to constantly remind him. To constantly remind the high guard, hey, I know he was your leader, but he was puny and weak, and I'm going to use him simply because he was too weak to take the steps that I'm going to take. Yeah. So he kept him around as a tool to just remind them that he's the one that's taking them ahead, not him.
And
if you step out of line, I will end you.
Yeah, and it plants the seeds for Starscream's, wanting to usurp the leadership back.
Yep,
exactly right. Mm-hmm. Yep, that was a perfect way to set up that relationship between those two and take it forward. Very good story.
Have you read the Skybound way that they did it?
I haven't read any Skybound. I just haven't had the time.
The origin for Starscream in that comic book is something else. Like it is the
Oh,
way
it's
that they
great.
do it there is you know how his the original name for Starscream that Denny O'Neil came up with Optimus Prime and Prowl. But the
Right.
name that he came up with for the Decepticon jet was Ulktar.
Yeah,
And
I remember that.
right,
Yeah.
and then Buddy Yansky changed it to Starscream. So they actually went with that in Skybound. That his name was originally Ulktar, and he was a peaceful
Oh
guy
wow.
until he, I think it was his brother who became a Decepticon, and or his
Wow. I never.
yeah, and then his
Yeah,
friend
I
got
might have to
killed,
go
and then
grab
he joined
that. Yeah.
Megatron, but Megatron turned into a gun, but the gun was a tank.
Got
And,
it. That is really neat. Okay, I got to definitely read these now. That's
yeah, and
man, that's an
so
interesting book.
yeah, and it's eventually Starscream becomes like a psychopath because he's using this ultimate power in his hands, which is Megatron in gun mode. And he
Wow.
just,
So Megatron influenced him
yeah,
by holding on.
yeah,
Interesting.
which
Wow.
is, and I have to, if I ever get a chance to ask Daniel Warren Johnson, were you watching any of my videos? Because I have been saying this for years. But I
Yeah.
like the way that Transformers One did it, and I like the way that you know that the Skybound comics did it. So it's a really good way of telling an origin story that works. Now we just have to get more fans, enticed to see something like that.
Yeah, we
Uh,
really do.
but
And
that's really the main issue is how do you yeah, they touched on it in G1 with the Autobot Spike. So it really boils down to that. It's just like um, I would love, like I said, I would love a continuation, but at this point, I think we're now at a point where it probably does need to be, reset, retold. Um, but you know, I don't think Transformers can is doomed. You know what I mean? Like, as there are some people thinking that it's doomed. I just think the movies need to take a rest. I think that you need to get a cartoon series out there that has got good storytelling that's compelling and get more people invested. And they need to do something better with the toy distribution. Not have to just simplify it a little bit. You don't need as much of the junky Transformers toys on the shelf. You need more good stuff.
And
And
just leaving it on the shelf because, like, again, like prior to Robots in Disguise, the I'm sorry, the I guess after Robots in the Sky, and actually, I want to say like the last night was where I started to see it change, where stuff just wasn't, and really Combiner Wars as well. Waves weren't staying on the shelves as long, and
yeah,
I think stuff needs time to breathe. So as a collector, you're like, oh, hey, that figure looks really cool, and if you're a more casual collector, you'd be like, well, if I don't buy it now, I'll never see it again. I don't want to get into this. Whereas if a figure has a guaranteed 3 to 4 month shelf life in a wave, and you could make the waves a little bit bigger then. Like
right,
instead of
Yeah.
doing 4, do 8. And you have like basically 3 or 4 months to buy 8 deluxes and 2, 3, 4 Voyagers and 2 liters. Just let it breathe a little bit. And I know that's going to be less exciting, but again, you have to understand, you have to read the room with the current economy, with new and old collectors and younger collectors. You need to give them the ability to say, like, oh, I really want to get into this, but I'd like to, but these characters, like Ultra Magnus is one, right? Oh, I'd like to have these Studio Series 86, but I never saw Ultra Magnus. I never saw the Optimus Prime. And it's not worthwhile for me to get into because I'll never have the collection without
right,
spending an arm and a leg.
yeah,
You need to remove those barriers or entry because in G1, like again, I was born in '85 and I had the luxury of getting hand downs, but I vividly remember characters being on the shelf for years and
yeah.
then
They were
redos
on the
again.
shelf for 2 years actually,
Mm-hmm.
and you had the
Yeah.
checklist for the whole year.
Yep.
She did.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I could bring this back again. The amount of time this mold's been on the shelf with the rest of the rest of the line was crazy. and it was nice to know that those main characters were still coming back. And even still, when this wasn't on the shelf, you'd have a repaint. You'd have the
Yeah,
Stealth Bumblebee. You'd have
yeah.
Nightwatch Optimus. You had the Target Jazz. Like there were, even though it was a Target exclusive, the exclusives were still quite a bit of them out there. You know, you could
There
still
was
go to Target.
wasn't that like a cliff jumper version of that one too?
There was also
Yep.
a Cliff Jumper.
Yeah.
So you did not go without in this line. You had everything you wanted, and then they get the Cybertron repaint, started throwing those in. So there was plenty to get at that time,
And
you
and
weren't
back
far
then,
out of it.
the DVD came out a bit later. So then when the DVD was coming out, because again, it wasn't like, hey, Transformers came out Transformers came out July 4th, 2007. And I
And
want
the
to say,
DVD hit November because that's when I first watched it. I watched
Yeah.
it on the DVD. I didn't go see it in the theater
Yeah.
because
So-
everyone knows that's my first experience with the franchise. But yeah, we watched it here November ish, like the 7th or 8th, I think, of 07.
and then when that happened, you got like the Energon and the RoboVision stuff coming back out, like the All Spark Battles, whatever that subline
Yeah, All
was.
Spark Power,
All Spark Power. Yep.
Nightwatch Prime. That's still my favorite Optimus repaint.
No, I remember that first Transformers live action was staying in the theater until like October.
It was so
it
good.
It was out forever. Like I seen it like 15 times. Right? Because matter of fact, I was single at the time, so I took like five ladies on the dates to see it. Right? At the time, so I remember it was out forever, right? And people just kept going back to see it, and it just made a crap load of money, right? A ton of it. Honestly, the only way you could see it was in the theaters. I don't see why they're putting it on streaming so quick. I don't get that.
It hurts. It hurts. Movies. It's not just Transformers, but it hurts every single.
Everything. I mean, any movie that comes out anymore, it's on
it's
streaming
hurting
in a
the
couple of
theaters
weeks.
because the theater knows. I mean, if they can charge, if they're charging $12, $15 a ticket, you're not going to want to take a family of four.
Yeah.
In this economy, to go see a movie. You're going to pick and choose what movie you're going to go see.
The sad reality is that the studios want theaters to die because it's a middleman, and they want to condition audiences to think the theaters are antiquated. And yeah, the reason they want to do that, like right now, it's like, oh well, a month late, like Sonic 3, like I was using an example, like even though that movie's making tons and tons of money, they're like, well, it's coming to streaming on January, I think it was like January 31st or 21st, something ridiculously soon. And like Paramount's going to want people to get on a Paramount Plus. And they're even trying to kill, Blu-ray sales. I'm a 4K and Blu-ray collector, and I like having physical media a lot, but it's getting harder and harder as things go on. But what people don't realize is we're going to come to a time where they kill the movie theater. Well, guess what? You're paying $30 for a movie that you will never own. You get streaming rates for a week, and they'll package it. Well, movie theaters have gone away, and we need to make our money. And it sucks because like I have a really nice TV. I have a 65-inch LG OLED. I'm not trying to flex, but I'm just saying that I have
we've got one of those too. Yeah, we've got one of those too.
Yeah,
really good.
But I still like going to the movie theater because when I'm in the movie theater, I don't have dogs barking. I don't have dogs asking to go outside. We put our phones away. We're focused on the movie. It's an experience. It's something that, like, again, maybe I'm just conditioned, and it's something I've been doing all my life. And as a 40-year-old man, I don't like change, but I just also I like the experience. It's a great
old man yells at cloud.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But like honestly, if it comes to the point where like a movie comes out and it's like, well, it's $30 to watch it at home, I'm not spending that $30. I'm not really a cheapskate, but it's like when we were at TFCon, right? Like I love Michael Bell, I love meeting him, I got his autograph, but like for the picture, it was, well, you can take a selfie with him. I'm like, I'm sorry if you're not giving me a professional photo for $40.
I paid it. I did so because I wanted to meet Michael Bell, and that for me was worth it. I think meeting Michael Charles Hill was was that was
He and Mark Watts were fantastic to talk to.
yeah. I mean, I told you about the experience. Did you missed
I
out?
was next to you with Michael Charles Hill.
You were, but
Yeah.
did I told you about what happened afterward?
I don't recall.
All right, so the next day, he came down the escalator, and my dad and I were sitting in the lobby, and he comes up to me and he's like, "You're RodimusPrimal."
Oh no, you didn't tell me about that.
Yeah, he came up to me. He goes, "I want to shake your hand." He
He
goes,
said he had no idea.
He didn't realize it was me. He goes, "We were there. You were there yesterday with your friend and everything, and blah blah
Yeah.
blah." And he was really appreciative, not just of me, but of just fans in general. For all the times that he really enjoys coming to conventions and talking to fans about everything. And to me, that was like, he wrote The Burden Hardest to Bear, and he created the character of DevCon in The Gambler.
Yeah.
Like, that is like, a moment I will never forget. So
Yeah, I think
That's awesome.
he and Mark Watts were probably the most surprising two for me, because I really also enjoyed seeing Mark leave his little studio setup and going around and just appreciating what was there. It was really cool to see.
yeah, he was doing that at RetroCon in Pennsylvania. Because I've met him there before, and he's just really, really cool. But
That's
man,
not too far from me. That happens in what? Oaks, PA.
Oaks, Pennsylvania. Yep.
Yeah, that's like 20 minutes from my house.
I want to go back there because I haven't been to Oaks, Pennsylvania in a while, and I'm sure that like Tony and Rose, who run that show, would love to have me back. But it's like I'd have to be able to get up there from here. So that's like the only thing that's holding me back. But man, we've talked now for 2 hours and 30 minutes, talking nerdy, going on about Transformers. Had 140 people, pretty much staying on for a while. It has been an absolute blast talking about this stuff. And, we may not agree on everything. That's cool. But what's cool is that, our passion for Transformers, I think, is going to keep this franchise alive. Not just us, the five of us, but I mean the people who watch, the people who are, and I really do mean that we're really doing our best to keep this franchise as alive as we can, because we enjoy it. We enjoy these robots in disguise. And
you got to think about it. It's been 40 years, well, going on 41 years. Not too many names last that long. I mean, there's a few out there, but this one, movies and everything behind it, it's going to be hard to kill. At the same time, they can do a lot better with it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot better.
Absolutely. And I want to try and do streams like this more often, whether it's a solo stream like this, or talking about the news, or whether it's a panel discussion kind of like this too. Like it's fun times, and Bert can already attest that we could probably talk for hours even after the stream ends.
We do this every time too, man.
Every single time.
Rodimus and I will get on Godzilla, we'll get on Rangers, we'll get on Sentai, we'll get on anything.
Godzilla is a great example too.
Yeah.
To mention it, a long-standing franchise, and you have two different flavors of Godzilla. You have like the MonsterVerse stuff, which is kind of like the Bayverse.
Right now is a great time to be a Godzilla fan.
Yeah, and then you get Godzilla -1, which is more for the purists and for the cinemaphiles. So yeah.
I just watched that movie again. I can't get enough of it. With my 6-year-old, she sat down to watch it with me. Godzilla -1.
That's a great movie. It's such a great
Minus
movie.
is probably going to be like cinematic. Well, it's going to probably be cinematic royalty by the time this is over.
Yeah. I watched that movie in theaters 3 times, and one of those times was with. So my wife and I went to see it the first time just to kind of gauge it, to see. We didn't want to bring the 6-year-old. We weren't sure how she was going to handle it. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to bring. So I went and watched it a second time, and I brought her with me. And she sat there and ate it up. And she sat there and watched that movie in Japanese. And she sat through that whole movie. She loved it. And we just watched it again the other day. She loves that movie, and so do I.
It's a great
And then
movie.
as soon as we got done watching it, the next day she's like, "Okay, now we watch one with Godzilla was a bad guy. I want to watch one with Godzilla as a good guy, and also King Kong." Like, all right, let's
Godzilla's
put
so versatile, isn't he?
Yeah.
yeah.
He's
So
such a
there's
versatile character.
so we put on the last one that came out, the Godzilla X Kong something Empire. Put that one on for her, and so she'll ask me. She's like,
Trypticon is basically Godzilla, right?
she'll tell me if she wants to
Trypticon
watch
is
one where
basically
Godzilla's a bad guy, or if Godzilla's a good guy, or Godzilla has a son, or she'll tell me which one she wants to watch like that.
Trypticon is modeled after Godzilla, right? Then they modeled to Trypticon after that.
Probably.
Kind of.
I mean, all T Rexes
No?
were kind of modeled like that back
You
in
wanna
the
come in
day.
here, bud?
Modeled after.
Someone should also take random clips from Everybody Loves Raymond and just put like, because that was Brad Garrett. It was the voice of Trypticon.
Yeah. Yes.
That's true.
Just have Trypticon walk out. Where's
Everyone
Raymond?
forgets Brad Garrett plays Trypticon. I
hi.
have to remind people.
Say hi, everybody.
Hey, what's up, man?
All right, you're getting called out.
How's it going, man?
All right, so it is time for you to get back because it's about time to get you ready. Your time for your bedtime, so or close to it. Say bye bye. Close it.
See you later.
later. And that little one.
Right,
Sneaks.
past my bedtime too.
Well, that's what I was just trying to wrap everything up, and we started talking Godzilla.
But that's what we always do. Like when we do these streams with like Patriot Prime, we'll talk for an hour before the stream starts. Then we'll do a stream like a 3-hour stream, and then we'll end that, and then we'll stay on and continue talking for another 2.5 hours.
Yep, it's pretty much. If you
Yeah,
never
I
watch
missed my
Mario-
workout, man. I didn't go to the gym, so
Neither did
Yeah, me too. I
but
missed my workout tonight.
I'm getting Hoth right now. So I'm living in Hoth right now. So
Yeah.
it's a little rough.
Yeah.
You will go to the Florida.
Yeah.
There you will learn from Bert. Here, wait, I got it. You must go to the Florida system. There you will learn from Bert.
Taco Master.
It's 41 degrees where I live in Florida.
Yeah,
so-
it's 41 degrees right now. So
it is 16 degrees up here right now.
yeah.
I didn't
It
even
is
check
26
what it is
right
for
now.
Rise
us.
and shine, campers, and don't forget your booties.
I
Because
do
it's
want
cold
to
outside.
say, keep your prayers up for the people in California and Southern California.
wow.
right now.
Yeah.
It's
Has
spread
we
to
heard from
Hollywood
Ghost
Hills.
Prime today? Did we hear from Ghost Prime today?
Yeah, Ghost
Yeah.
Prime lives in North California.
Yeah. Well, he checked in yesterday when we were talking about Jinrai, but then I haven't heard from him today.
I saw some people like that they were posting that they're in evacuation zones and stuff like that. So I know we have all those things that are happening, and which kind of stinks. But
Yeah.
it's
That's that.
it's sad to see. But I'm gonna wrap it up from here. It's been a lot of fun, guys, and we'll do this again. And I will have the next Transformers retrospective coming soon. We didn't hit our goal of 10, super chats, so you'll find out who it is very, very soon. So, as always, guys, until next time, till all.